pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for all our servicemen and women and all our civilians serving overseas. Thank you. Okay, so just a quick announcement from me. For everyone up here on the board, please, with the masks that we're wearing and all that, please make sure your microphone's closer to you when you're speaking. Thank you. Other than that, welcome. I'm glad everyone could come out. This is a great day for us, as you'll see coming up next. I just want to just say welcome. I'm glad everyone's here, and then I'll pass it on to Kathy for announcements.
Oh, at this time? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I would just like to mention that we finally had our rubber ducky event at the park, and it's a shame because we didn't have as many families show up because they had to reschedule, what was it, 3 times, Mayor? But it was a really nice event. The kids, of course, really enjoyed it. And I see, what's his name back there? Raise your hand. Ferris,
Mike
Mr. Ferris. I forgot your first name, Mike, but now I just did. Mike Ferris, he was there helping out. Eric and Mark were helping out. Mary was there. If I'm missing anybody, I know Steve Wiesner was there.
Pat was there.
Pat was there. Anybody else? Raise your hands. I don't want to miss anybody. Anyways, it was a really nice event. And then the other event that Mark and Erica and myself attended was the Christ Home Fundraiser. And they do a really good job. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, great. They do a really good job over there because a lot of folks think that they just take care of children, but they also take care of the elderly that can no longer take care of themselves. So they said they've got the youngest and the old, I think they have a 1-year-old and a 90-year-old, so that's the difference. And it was a really nice event, met a lot of great people, and just wanted to mention those 2 events that we had attended. So, Mayor?
Okay. Mr. Chairman, you ready to go next?
Yes. So are you.
I usually go to Mark.
I know.
But, you know.
Whatever you want to do, it's fine.
Go ahead, Mark.
All right, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I just have a few announcements. I know I talked to you about it yesterday. We neglected to mention at the last meeting that we
Right.
had a passing of a former supervisor, Frank Bernstein, and dedicated a lot of service to this township, and I want to send condolences, I'm sure, out on behalf of the board and township management.
Thank you.
To him
Absolutely.
and to his family. So I know his wife had passed not too long before him. And
Right.
From what I'm told, he died of a broken heart.
It was like less than a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our condolences go out to the Bernstein family.
Thanks, Mark.
I also have a couple others. This is from our friend Matt Penji from the Warminster Historical Society. They're hosting an event on November 21st, which is a Sunday, at the golf course at Five Ponds. It's called Sip and Shop. Matt tells me they have over 40 vendors lined up for the holidays. They'll have refreshments available and cocktails available as well, and it looks like it's going to be a real nice event. It's November 21st from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's called Sip and Shop for the holidays, so try to make it out there.
Where is that going to be?
At Five Ponds Golf Course.
So you drink and then you spend a lot of money?
Some money. That's right. Bring your credit card.
Okay.
And the last thing I have, as you all know, I'm a fortunate survivor of colon cancer, and November is Men's Health Awareness Month. So I want to remind everyone to go out, and it's to go out and schedule your colonoscopy. It's a good thing to schedule it before the holidays, if you can get it out of the way before the holidays. If not, right after the new year, get your colonoscopy. It's really important. If I didn't get mine, I wouldn't be sitting here, so it's that important. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Okay, Mary, your turn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have Parks and Rec announcements. So there's Touch a Truck. Warminster Parks and Rec would like to thank J.P. Mascaro and Sons and the Southampton Warminster Area Lions Club for sponsoring the Touch a Truck that happened Saturday, October 23rd at Warminster Community Park. Thanks to all of the participants, the Warminster Park Police, Public Works Department, Hartsville and Warminster Fire Departments, Centennial School District, MECO Constructors, and Warminster Municipal Authority. Dog licenses in Bark Park. Sales of the 2022 annual dog licenses will begin in December. Pennsylvania law requires that all dogs over the age of 3 months must be licensed and have a rabies vaccination. The last Bark Park membership class will be held on November 17th Call Parks and Rec to be placed on that class list. Warminster Community Park improvements, we will continue to work on the finishing touches to the grant construction project at Warminster Community Park throughout the winter and spring as the weather permits. Trails are open for use. For more information and to see the pictures of the project, stop by Parks and Rec office or call 215-443-5428. The Friends of Warminster Park fundraising efforts, the Bank Shot Basketball. After receiving a generous legacy gift, Friends are fundraising to complete the intergenerational all-inclusive Bank Shot Basketball program, which is being installed now. For more information or to make a donation, go to www.friendsofwarminsterparks.org. And our Hometown Hero banners, Friends of Warminster Parks continue to offer Hometown Hero banner program honoring our local veterans. Banners are displayed along Veterans Way in Warminster Community Park from April to December. For an application or for information, please go to www.friendsofwarminsterparks.org or stop by our Parks and Rec office. Please check out the Township e-newsletter online at www.warminstertownship.org. For information on all programs and events that is available, it's www.warminstertownship.org/special events or call 215-443-5428. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mary. And last but not least, Judy, please.
Hi. I have some upcoming events for Warminster Library. The library will hold a Penny Workshop, Your Introduction to Pennsylvania's Health Insurance Exchange, on Tuesday, November 9th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. Just join the library as they learn about Penny, the state health insurance exchange. If you need to purchase health insurance this year, this is where you'll find it. You have to register. Lenape Stories and Games, Native American Storytelling, presented by Peace Valley Nature Center, is Wednesday, November 17th at 4:30. This program is for kids aged 2 to 6, and participants will play games of skill and chance. They will make up a game using natural objects, listen to a Native American story, and discuss its meaning. The program will be held outside, weather permitting, and registration is required. To register for any library program, please go online to the library's event page or call the library at 215-672-4362.
Okay, thank you, Judy. All right, so here's the moment I think there's a lot of people here for, and in spite of all the prevarications and equivocal language we've heard for the last couple weeks, we're proud to announce tonight that we will be swearing in 2 new police officers and promoting one of our force members tonight to, I believe, corporal, right? To corporal. So I think we'll invite Chief Donnelly up here to MC the ceremonies.
Good evening. I'm Jim Donnelly. I'm the Chief of Police here in Warminster, and I am privileged to lead one of the best police departments in Bucks County. With my men and women, they've done an outstanding job. After these 20 months, there's been a lot of commendations that we haven't been able to bring up here. So hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to bring the men and women up here and give them the due respect they deserve for putting their life on the line and doing these marvelous jobs. Tonight is one of the best jobs I get to have as chief. You know, next meeting may not be, but this one is. I get to promote one of my more active officers to the rank of corporal, and I get to add to the ranks too. First, I will start with the promotion. In August, Corporal Joe Ashmore, a 20-year vet of the police department, retired, went off to enjoy retirement. We started a progressive search and through the promotional process for corporal. From that promotional process, 3 candidates qualified. But the number 1 candidate from that list is a hometown boy, Archbishop Wood grad, Nativity grad, lives in the neighborhood, raises his family, raises his sons in the neighborhood. You'll see his boys riding around our station protecting my parking lot. Is Chris O'Neill. Chris O'Neill will be a 24-year police officer in Warminster Township come December.
Wow.
He's served with distinction. As you'll see him. He'll be walking to the left because of all his commendations on his badge. Chris is married to Sharon. He has Ryan and Chase right up here up front. He's acted as corporal several times. He's been an experienced canine officer in Warminster Township probably since the 90s, late 90s, when he came on. He's had 3 dogs here. He's currently serving with Bolt now. He will be promoted and moved over to A Squad and work with Sergeant Arrhenius and those fine officers in that squad. On top of that, Chris is also a CPR instructor. He's a field training officer. He's a defensive tactics instructor. He served on our highway unit. He's a graduate of Temple University, and he's community involvement at Warminster Pioneers football, where he was a coach. He was a baseball coach for Warminster baseball. He was a soccer coach for Warminster. I don't even know if he played all these sports. He's also a lunch monitor. I can't believe he put this on his resume. But also, his last achievement is he's a U.S. soccer referee. So with all these boys, I don't know where he finds the time to come in here and do the exceptional work he does. But I'd like to bring Chris O'Neill up and offer him to be the next corporal and get him sworn in.
Congratulations, bud. Congratulations.
We couldn't decide, so we're up here. Who needs it more?
Oh, that's so cute.
Good evening. My name is Dan Finello. Have the pleasure of being your magisterial district judge. And one of the parts of the job that I love is swearing in people, either entering into public service or protecting us, our great first responders. And Officer O'Neill I'm so pleased that Officer O'Neill has gotten this promotion. He is the epitome of a great police officer. He does his job, he does it in a nice way, okay, about as good as you can do. He has a great temperament, okay, he's so respectful of the court, and I appreciate all of that. He comes prepared, and what more could you ask? He has his 2 boys up here. They're great kids. I've known them since they were knee-high. I saw this one a couple weeks ago refereeing my younger granddaughter's soccer game. So they've gotten, as the chief said, stole it on my speech, Chief. Officer is also, Corporal O'Neill is also involved in youth sports. I know he is because we talk about it all the time, any off time at the court. Okay, and now he has a new career. He wants to be a soccer referee. I will tell you, with that comes a lot of badgering from coaches. Okay, so let's get down to business, okay? Corporal Designate O'Neill, are you prepared to take the oath of office?
I am.
Okay. I, Christopher O'Neill,
I, Christopher O'Neill,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United
and
States
the Constitution of this Commonwealth
and the Constitution of this
and the
Commonwealth
laws of Pennsylvania
and the laws of
and
Pennsylvania
the governmental subdivision,
and governmental subdivision,
and that I will discharge the duties of corporal
and I will discharge the duties of corporal
in Warminster Township,
in Warminster Township,
Bucks County,
Bucks County,
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations, Corporal.
Awesome. Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Corporal. Good luck.
One thing I forgot to mention, one thing Chris is also driving forward is, you can see, I don't know if you can tell with the mask on, you mentioned Cancer Month for the month of November. The Benevolent Association is raising money for cancer by doing No Shave November and Double Down December. So if anybody's interested, I'll be posting up on our Facebook to make donations to the Warminster Police Benevolent Association for this drive that they're doing for the next 2 months. So. With that being said, I have 2 candidates to be brought forward for to be police officers in Warminster Township. We were authorized back in June when Chief Varicallo retired and went to go be chief in Upper Southampton. And Officer Mark Goldberg retired in April, and then Joe Ashmore came in and retired in August to hire new officers. We put out a list. It was a competitive process with interviews and written assessments and a PT assessment and oral boards and all that. And we have the two candidates I'll present right now. The first one will be Kevin Regan. Kevin comes to us from Abington Township, where he went to school. He was a Philadelphia police officer in the 9th District and the 24th District for the last 6 years in the city of Philadelphia. He's a graduate at Temple University, and right now he's here with his wife Regan and their 2 boys. And I would present Kevin Regan for swearing in to police officer.
No shave November, huh, Chief?
Yep.
I won't be able to tell the cops from the defendants. Anyway. I want to welcome Officer Regan, and I did check the pronunciation, because if there's any old timers in the room, we had a supervisor by that name, and he would get mad if you called him Reagan. So, Officer Regan it is. It's nice to see all these young guys with kids in the audience here. That means they'll be here a while. So I'm looking forward. You know, I know they're from Philadelphia. Maybe this is a little safer haven, but I do, you know, wish you safety every day. And I know you'll do a great job. And we appreciate, you know, your coming here and serving all our citizens and our taxpayers. Okay, so Officer Regan, are you ready to take the oath of office?
I am.
Okay, I, Kevin Regan,
I, Kevin Regan,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and
the
defend
Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth
and the Constitution of this
and
Commonwealth
the laws of Pennsylvania
and the laws of Pennsylvania
and governmental subdivision,
and the governmental subdivision,
and I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of patrol officer
of patrol officer
in Warminster Township,
in Warminster Township,
Bucks County,
Bucks County,
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
And I look
Mr.
forward to seeing them in court. Not as defendant.
All right. My next candidate is Thomas Detrow Jr. A little bit proud of this one, being a young Parkwood kid myself. Kevin was born and raised, or not born and raised in Parkwood, but spent 20 years in Parkwood and comes from Parkwood in Philadelphia. He's a graduate of Archbishop Bryan High School and Penn State University, where he played baseball for both. He's a experienced Philadelphia police officer serving 5 years in the 24th District and part of it in the 15th District. He's here with his wife Brianna and his 2 sons. So I'd like to bring him up, present him for being sworn in for police officer.
Okay, I know earlier on, we got another one joining us. Okay. One more. Come on up. Who else wants? Anybody else want to come? I know I gave Chris O'Neill a lot of props, but, you know, that comes when you get promoted and, you know, but you, Officer Detrow, Officer Regan, all your co-workers are here, or most of them are here, and there's a lot of good guys that you can model yourself at. Our police department is outstanding, and I enjoy working with them every day. Sometimes they always don't like what I do, but hey, that's, you know, that's the way it is, and that's the nature of the justice system. So, again, another young guy with 2 beautiful children. Okay, I have to confess, I've known his wife for a long time. She'll tell you why, and she told me today is not only a special day for town, but 11 years ago is a special date for her. She can explain that to you if you care to know why. Okay? So, Officer Detrow, are you prepared to take the oath of office?
I am.
I, Thomas Detrow,
I, Thomas Detrow,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth
and the laws of Pennsylvania
and the laws of Pennsylvania
and the governmental subdivision.
and the governmental subdivision.
And I will discharge the duties
And I will discharge the duties
of patrol officer
of patrol officer
in Warminster Township, Bucks County,
in Warminster Township, Bucks County,
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations. officer. That's it for me. I appreciate the sacrifices of all these officers in the room and their families, and we should pray for their safety every day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just like to say,
Thank you, Judge.
just like to say that this board would rather
Thank you.
defend our police rather than defund it. So, Chief, you should be okay next month. Okay? There you go. All right, why don't we take a 5-10 minute recess so everybody can have a opportunity to take pictures and whatever. Thank you.
Where's Kathy? Down there.
It's like, sit down for a second. Oh, no, it's Mark.
Okay, let's move ahead so we can all get out of here at a decent hour. All right, let's see, where were we? We're at C, yes, the Miracle Network of Northampton. Mr. Robert House, are you in house? Yes, we are. Welcome.
Good evening. And thank you for the opportunity. Is this working?
Yes.
Yes.
Hear me? Fine?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Bob House. I'm the president of the board of the Miracle League of Northampton Township. I have with me this evening one of my executive board members. This is Lenny Fisher. Lenny has joined me this evening because he's our program director. So he's going to talk through part of our presentation on programs. Again, right off the start, thank you for this opportunity to come introduce you to the Miracle League of Northampton Township, not just yourselves, but the community at large, to give us an opportunity to hopefully expand our reach and get more people to join up and participate in our programs. We are a set of programs that are designed for support of individuals with special needs, both intellectual and physical disabilities. If we can control that. If we go to the next page, the Miracle League was actually founded back in 2000 down in Georgia, where the first Miracle League field was created. Our organization is now one of about 240 organizations around the country in Puerto Rico and Canada. Our organization was founded in 2012 after we got done raising the funds and completed the building of a Miracle League field and an adjacent multi-purpose field at the park in Northampton Township, right off of Hatboro Road. Our fields both fields are fully handicapped accessible that will allow us to support our athletes and through the various programs that we'll mention as we talk to you as well. Our organization, flip one more page, all right. Really, we look at ourselves in a very kind of broader way. We're not just here, we think, just to provide just some sports programs and like. We really do think there's an opportunity for us to really enrich the community that we're supporting, really by providing our facilities and our programs to really improve the life of our special needs individuals. We have a set of goals that our organization has. Starts with we have to maintain the fields that we built, so we have a long-term obligation to keep those fields in the shape that they are. We want to optimize the utilization of those fields. We're looking for more programs that we can actually incorporate the fields and use them more. We want to look to expand the use of those fields, invite other organizations that may have similar types of issues or similar type of constituents they're serving to allow them to come participate and use our fields. Things like tonight, we got to really continue to expand our brand and make people more aware of us so that individuals can come and participate in our programs or even support our programs. We work very closely with the Township of Northampton. I'll talk about a program that we're working through right now with him a little later in our presentation. And like I said before, we see ourselves as more than just our athletic fields. We are a group that supports, we have over 250 individuals that are part of our programs. Their families are a wealth of knowledge and experience of dealing with individuals with special needs, how you work through all of the things that you need to as parents of individuals with special needs. It allows us to be able to bring that community together and hopefully help them, answer the questions they have, figure out how to navigate through the things that are there. At this point, if I can turn the slide, I'm going to turn it over to Lenny and let Lenny talk about our current programs for a few minutes, and then I'll come back at the end after that.
All right, thanks, Bob. Yeah, my name is Lenny Fisher. I'm the program coordinator for the Miracle League of Northampton Township. Effectively, I'm in charge of running the sports leagues that we have going on throughout the year. If you can go to the next slide, please. Currently, we have 4 main sports that we offer throughout the year. Softball is our flagship sport. It's where we started. We have our fields that we built over in Northampton Township, the municipal park. Our season runs from late spring into summer, and where we have over 100 athletes participating in, depending on the season, 6 to 8 different teams. We've been actively running this and growing this since our inception, and I would say we probably have most of our athletes coming through here, and it's a big hit. Next one is our basketball program. This is run Mondays, typically from November through March, over close to our fields in Marina Welsh Elementary School. We have 2 fully functioning programs that go there, one for our younger kids, one for our older kids. Also over 100 athletes participating through our basketball program. Bowling is run out of Thunderbird Lanes here in Warminster. We've been doing this one probably for 5-6 years at this point, maybe a little bit longer. We have tremendous interest for this. This is one of our more popular leagues. Unfortunately, due to constraints, we kind of have to limit it a little bit at the lanes. But we always have tremendous need for this, and we're always trying to expand that. Also run through the winter months as well. And then lastly, we have our soccer program that's run in coordination with the Council Rock United Soccer Association through our multi-purpose field at the Northampton Township Municipal Park. It's a program that we work very closely with the Soccer Association, and they run it along with our coordination and support. And it is a program that we try to get as much support as we can, and we're always growing on top of that. Those are the sports we offer currently. We're always, we're going to talk a little bit about what we've been working on for the past couple of years, but now that we're kind of looking into a new phase, we're always looking to expand and grow, and our hope is to get more sports leagues going, but then also more programs that help not only the athletes, but their families and siblings and parents as well. So this will all be coming down the pipeline in the next couple of years. In association with our softball league, you can go to the next slide, thank you. Every year, we have our keystone event is our George School Festival. Over Father's Day weekend, unfortunately the past couple of years we haven't been able to do it because of COVID, but over Father's Day weekend, we get all of our athletes together to spend the weekend and play a tournament with softball and a whole bunch of different events. We have over 100 athletes come and stay the night. We have 5 games that they participate in, along with a whole bunch of events during the day. And then we have a dance and an ice cream social, and the Fanatic usually stops by. And it's really an event that our athletes look forward to. It's not only does it allow for them to play some softball, which is the main reason why we're there, but a lot of opportunities for friendship and growing and really learning how to be on your own. If we move forward a little bit. Go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So our constituents are all over the Bucks County area. You can, one more, please. So we've done a little bit of digging into our data and kind of compiled this for us. For softball, basketball, and bowling, ones that we directly run, we have participants coming from all over the area. Obviously, since we're based in Northampton Township, the bulk of our athletes are coming from Northampton Township. But you'll see we have plenty coming in from Warminster and Warrington and a lot of areas that are really close to here and all over the area. So we're pulling from anywhere from a 5-minute drive up to 45 minutes in some cases. We have a handful coming from the Bensalem and Philadelphia area. Our program is unique, and a lot of people really want to want to be a part of it, and we're happy to accept anybody coming from anywhere. If we look one more data point, if we go to the next slide, please. We have a number of athletes from all different age groups. We have as young as 5 years old in our softball group, and we have 40 plus. You know, we've had athletes 50, 60 years old, really. As long as they're able to stand there and have a good time, we're not going to turn anyone down. Our average age right now is 22.6 years old, and I can tell you that that's a pretty accurate number. Most of our athletes are skewing older, and we're actively working to get more participation from the younger groups, and that's something we're actively working towards. So with that being said, I think we're going to move forward to our most current programs. Bob?
Thank you, Lenny. So as Lenny just took you through really kind of what our core programming is and what we do and what we provide. I mentioned earlier, as part of one of our goals is things that we're doing with the township in Northampton. Really where we are right now is we've been working on developing an all-inclusive playground with them. We have completed fundraising. We now have close to $700,000 based on grants, direct donations, and as well as our fundraising efforts. We are just about ready. It'll either happen in the next couple of weeks, or we're just going to wait until the spring and do it all then. But this is the playground that's adjacent to our ball fields at the park on Hatboro Road that we're going to make into a fully all-inclusive playground, bringing in all kinds of new equipment, resurfacing it as well. This should be completed, if all goes well, in the spring. Materials. This is like everybody I think is struggling with is part of our challenge right now, trying to get those materials and everything available and ready to go. But this has been a big focus of our organization in conjunction with Northampton Township for the past 4 or 5 years. Obviously got a little, we would have wanted to start last year, but again with COVID and everything else, we kind of got delayed. But we're looking good now to get started with that development and that program. If we continue on, as Lenny said, you know, we're looking for continued ways to expand what we're doing. So as we look at our future, we really want to look for opportunities to expand our programs. That could be mostly focused on athletic programs. You know, we talk about, you know, volleyball, flag football, maybe some other sports. Again, that is kind of our bread and butter, what we are. We're a sports organization at heart. It is things that we think that we can probably expand into and really refocus our effort on back onto our core programming. In addition to that, it's around also social events. We try to create social activities. We did for a while have like dances or other social events for our constituents. We're going to look to see if we can bring some of that back so that we can have them participate in those programs. They all like that. Again, camaraderie, friendship, being out there with their friends and the like. As well as we did run a resource fair, brought in a number of resources from whether it's personal financial planners to Social Security experts to people from the county who could help come in. We did a full day resource fair that was well attended by all of our families. That gave them a good, you know, understanding, you know, gave people a chance to see, you know, what they could do or what different things that were out there and available to them. So we, to our point before about what our real mission is, it really is about a broader enrichment program is what we're trying to accomplish, and that's what we're seeking to do. So with that, the next slide is really just thank you again. Really appreciate the opportunity to meet with you and to also present to the community of Warminster. Really the goal here tonight was one, for information, but at really kind of 3 levels. One, if there's people out there who have a need or who see someone who has an opportunity that would want to participate, you know, here's programs that they might want to join into. And so that's really number 1 goal, it's about that. Number 2, we're always looking for help. We're always looking for people who can come out and volunteer, come out and coach, or come out and be a member of our board, help us do some of the work that we have to do there. Or even ultimately, like any charitable organization, we're always looking for help financially. So it's really kind of at 3 levels as I view this in terms of what we wanted to come forward here today and speak to you about. And with that, I'll open up if there's any questions or anything.
Just one, Bob, is there some sort of contact
Yep,
information?
if we continue down, so we gave you a listing of our board of directors and our members and so forth, and then our
Okay.
last page gives you all of our contact information. We have a website, we have an email, there's our address. That's my phone number, so if anybody now wants to call me, it's on mute right now, so don't try it this moment.
So anyone wants to volunteer or has somebody they'd like more information about, then they can just contact you, right?
Anybody there through the website or through an email, or as I said, through the phone, either way.
Excellent, thank you.
I have a couple, Mr. Chairman, with your permission. Number one, is there any way we could get this onto our township website or somehow into our quarterly magazine that this is available to our residents?
I can look into that.
That'd be
No,
great.
it's-
We would appreciate it.
That, you know, I'm sure the general public in Warminster doesn't know about you guys because you're Northampton.
Right.
And do you guys have annual fundraisers, or how do you do your fundraising?
Yeah, our fundraising, again, a lot of our focus of our fundraising has been on the raising funds for the playground. As we go forward, we've had our first golf outing this past year, a very successful golf outing at the Northampton Country Club. So that was a large fundraiser for us. We've also have done we were supposed to do a Halloween party, but again, we didn't do a Halloween party the last 2 years. We've done that for a couple of years, and again, that was a really nice fundraiser for us. Again, that worked out well because it also was something we could involve all of our constituents in, as they love to dress up, so, and we were able to bring them to that. We've also have done some raffles, both online and in person. Been some of the major ways that we've been able to, raise the funds to keep our organization going.
Yeah, that would be great if you'd let us know when you're doing some fundraising.
Oh, absolutely.
If we'd
Yeah,
be
I
glad to help
appreciate
out,
that.
because this is something that I'm glad that you're here, that this is available to our residents. And I'll tell the public and the board how this was brought here by our former Township Supervisor and Chairman Jason Crowley, and his wife Ann is on the board of directors for this, that they're really involved with this. And I didn't know much about it either until they told me about it, and it'd be really good to get it out to our general public, because I'm sure we have, as your chart showed, there's a lot of Warminster people already involved. So.
Yeah, as Ann was mentioning earlier, when her and Jason were looking for an opportunity for their son, like all of us, we're kind of hunting and trying to find
Right.
things. And sometimes they're not as aware, and they tripped over us. And what we'd like to do is be able to do more of this, so that people don't have to trip over something to find us.
Right.
That, we have, like you're suggesting, located on people's sites. We do work with a lot of the local schools to try to get them to promote us, because it is something that, we think
And
adds
it's
value
literally
to the
next door to
community.
us, so.
Right.
And now with our park being redone, you can literally park up Bristol Road and
Exactly.
walk
Are
right
other
across the street
townships,
to Belly-
I'm sorry, Mark,
No,
are
I'm
you
done.
finished?
Thank
Are you
you. Yes,
finished?
yes, go ahead.
Are other townships participating and helping out with your program?
We're starting this is my first endeavor before a board.
Okay, so
I live in
we're- so
Doylestown, I'm in
we're-
Doylestown, so I'm going to be
Okay.
knocking on Doylestown's door, and you saw that we have a number of people from Doylestown, so my intent is to hopefully be able to do something similar there. So we're going to go knocking on doors and try it again. I think, again, from awareness, and as I said, our first thing about awareness is participation.
Right.
We think we provide something to the community that is of value.
That is amazing, what you do to provide these services,
Well, thank
because I know a lot of the, especially like you said, the 22.6, but then you've got kids too, and some of them are having difficulty with the school situation, with COVID and all that. There's a big need for the
Absolutely.
activities for children and adults alike that have these disabilities, and I thank you
Absolutely.
for doing that. It's
Uh-huh.
very noble.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Do you
you.
have any programs suitable for autistic children?
I would say, how I would answer, our programs right now are, we have, our predominant participations are individuals with intellectual disabilities, inclusive of that of being autistic. We have a very strong autistic participation in our programs.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
coming
very
in.
much.
Thank you
Very
again for your
informative.
time.
Oh, my
Appreciate it.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll have an update from the municipal authority now. Tim, please. Dalton?
Good evening. Thank you for having us here this evening. We're going to present a general update. I'll be giving that presentation of the municipal authority and the work we've been doing. And Dalton specifically will be talking about the stormwater work that we've undertaken.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for having us tonight. Next slide, please. So just want to give an update. The stormwater transfer was finalized between the township and authority in April. The township and the authority are a joint co-permittee on the MS4 permit. MS4 is Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. Try to say that 5 times fast. But we did host a public meeting in August at the high school. We continue to host our Stormwater Advisory Group meetings. We continue to have our 3-step evaluation. We were very busy all summer long, so as we have been cleaning and assessing the system, we were also trying to keep up with the ever-fast Morrissey paving schedule this year. We are establishing our maintenance program as far as cleaning the inlets, jetting the pipes, and cutting the stormwater basins. And then we continue to have our engineer out in the township and plan for future capital projects. And our most important thing is we already had a billing platform that we have work orders with. So it was very seamless for us to track and organize work orders. We've received significant amount of phone calls since April. Upwards of 140 work orders have been responded to already. And these are sinkholes and inlets collapsing and general infrastructure issues. Next slide, please. We are trying to keep this organized. So if people are looking for a place to find a spot to submit a repair request form, you'll go right to our website under the Stormwater tab, where you'll have the option to submit the form and also submit a picture with that, which helps us as we set up our site visit and figure out what the issue is. Next slide, please. And why authority ownership? Well, it's what we do. For pipe maintenance and improvements, large infrastructure undertakings, we specialize in wastewater, potable water, now stormwater. Mr. Hagee will show you later on in the presentation that we are even in the treating stormwater business now. We have a great relationship with the regulators at DEP and EPA for water testing and regulatory compliance. We have a consistent funding method. Most important to us is the customer service we are able to provide for a service being provided to the residents. Next slide, please. So stormwater funding, this, as Mr. Mark McKee's favorite saying, this is an unfunded mandate from the state. And so the fee will go into our normal operation and maintenance taken care of, just the day-to-day, the regulatory compliance with EPA and DEP, and then most importantly, our capital improvements as we look to have our long-term plan for stormwater. The fee will be determined by the overall impervious surface on your property. We will be rolling out a credit program shortly after the program is up and running, as far as adopting an inlet to clean and removing curb cuts. And most importantly, we will always stay aggressive with the grant opportunities out there. Next slide. So as we all know, in Warminster, we got hit pretty good with the hurricane. So this picture here is from the Twin Streams neighborhood. On your right-hand side, that is large rock and debris that was washed up from the streams. So we were able to work closely with Joe Velton from Emergency Management Services during that night and the next day. And we were able to work closely with Andrew at Public Works to remove this debris from the people's properties in the Twin Streams neighborhood. Next slide. This was our worst destruction that we had. This is on Kemper. So you could see a large sinkhole was formed. Next slide. And you can see how busy it is underneath there. On your right-hand side, the orange wrap wire that was a live transformer wire. So we were able to complete this job in one day, but it did take PECO 1 week to get out there to secure the scene because of the destruction in Upper Dublin. So they were very busy, as you can imagine. Next slide. We'll be pouring concrete this week to finish that up. Next slide. So we did want to make the board aware and the residents. So we got a call back in July for a sinkhole forming in Centennial Road. So our staff was able to get out, open up that sinkhole, backfill it with, and top it off with coal patch. You can see on your right-hand side, the road has been cut before, so this area has been an issue. And next slide, please. And upon jumping down and doing our recon on the job, the top two pictures are pictures from either side of the pipe. It's a large diameter pipe. I believe it's a 5-foot pipe underneath that road. You could tell the pipe is completely gone. Hence, the road is sinking in. And down at the bottom where this job elevated to an emergency job for us, that is actually our water main exposed under there, which is not good at all. So that ground has eroded so much that the pipe and road has dropped and is sitting directly on top of our water main. So we look to perform this job in the next 3 weeks. The hardest thing was trying to find pipe, but we have secured pipe and we look to replace this in the next few weeks.
I just want to say we're really happy, and Mark and I both live in that neighborhood. We have the high school up there.
Yes.
So, and there's like a big dip.
Yes.
And we knew it was the pipe.
Yep.
And then when you get an overabundance of rain,
Yes.
that causes that problem. And I have to say, you're in the field a lot. and I get a lot of phone calls, and you must have a really great personality, in addition to being very good at your job, because I've heard raving reviews.
And you know, when they hired him, I didn't know. I called Hagee and said, why didn't you tell us you were looking? We would have hired you.
Yeah, right.
I missed the golf course, but I'm happy to be at the authority, and really, I'm a township resident myself, so helping the infrastructure with stormwater, hearing people's concerns, we are really trying to help the community, and there's people that, are being flooded out that are nowhere near bodies of water, so we know
Right.
there's
Yes,
issues.
and this is part of the reason why the stormwater was transferred to you. This job in particular here,
Right.
for years, we just paved over it.
Right.
'Cause we didn't have the giddy up to fix it.
And some
Right.
street signs, I think.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's been-
All we did was
paved
just-
over with street signs,
Yeah, as it would drop,
Correct.
pave over it again, because we didn't have the wherewithal to do the job.
Yep.
Right.
Honestly.
Yep, and this is what we do. We deal with large contractors, and so we have the resources to tackle this, so.
So that stormwater, or the water line, looks like that's at the invert, right, where it's all corroded and washed away?
Yes,
Right,
yep,
okay.
yep. Yeah, that's, so we're gonna get in there, we're gonna lower the water main. A little further down, there's a sewer line, we're gonna lower the sewer line, because our biggest thing is trying to get the coverage from the top of the pipe to the street. So we have to make sure we lower those pipes to make sure we have coverage.
Does that mean the kids on the school bus aren't gonna get a ride anymore?
They will not have a ride.
Bounce out of their seats.
So we
Right.
will
Bounce out
be
of their
submitting,
seats.
yeah,
Or
we'll
the
be
kids
submitting the
come
road.
flying.
Yeah.
Come flying down the road.
Can I ask a question, MS4 related question? I know we had discussed this before. It's found in Shenandoah Woods. I know part of the MS4 plan called for a regional basin to go in Shenandoah
Pond.
Woods.
It's a pond.
Right, but now that we've taken possession and the demolition's gonna get underway, but who's doing that job? The township or the authority?
That'll be part of our infrastructure committee.
So we
discussion.
haven't really established that, who's doing that particular, pond or
The
basin.
pond,
But I know that
yes.
the MS4 plan had called for that. And now that finally have some movement over there, that's a question I'm kinda asking why you're all here.
Yeah, it's definitely needed because back in that neighborhood, Decker Lane.
All right, but who's doing the job? That's my question. Are we or is the authority?
So I do not believe we have that on our.
That's right.
Right now, that's us,
Okay.
Right.
put it that way.
So that'll
You
be
guys
part
gonna pay
of,
us for that or?
that'll be part of the redevelopment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd ask.
Yeah,
Kinda doesn't hurt to ask.
never hurts to ask.
That's right.
So Mark, that'll be part of the redevelopment, once they
Right.
pull the slabs and
And
everything
that goes
else.
out, and the redevelopment authority will actually handle that job then.
I'm not
I
quite
guess we
sure.
cross that bridge when we get to it. My
Yeah.
question was simply who's performing that
I
task when it
have
comes.
One
Okay.
more question,
Yes, ma'am.
Dalton. So the big pipe, those huge, I never realized that pipe was that big.
Yes.
What are you doing about that, the deterioration? It's practically gone. What are we doing about that? So I know you're saying that the bottom one, that will have to be covered and all that because it's being exposed. But what happens with, I know you're not gonna be doing it, I'm just curious, what do you do to fix that particular problem at the top?
So we are submitting the road opening permit tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
So we will have to excavate the entire road, get everything out, and put new pipe in there.
Oh,
That
okay.
is corrugated metal, which has a lifespan of about 40 to 50 years.
Okay.
We are using aluminized pipe, which has a lifespan of 100 years.
Oh,
So,
I did hear about that.
yeah, so we're hoping we never have to come back again.
How wide is it though? in
That will
comparison?
be a 48-inch diameter pipe
Oh,
going in there.
okay,
Yes,
okay. Thank
yes,
you so
same
much for
size.
the information.
Yes,
How,
ma'am.
how long do you think that job will take?
3 days.
No way.
Yes.
Really?
Really?
Yep.
Wow. You know how there was you know how I kind of brought it to the attention is my mailman told me there was a huge sinkhole there that he.
Oh,
The
yeah.
mailman told me he said, I almost broke my ankle down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember
Yeah.
I called the township
Yep.
manager about it. I said, you might want to give them guys a call, you know?
Yeah, so we'll get signage out there and coordinate with the
Great.
proper agencies, but there will
Right.
probably be a slight detour. It's an easy detour, you come
Yeah.
right up and come around.
Right.
But yes, to make it efficient, we do have to open up the road and get that pipe
I'm
out.
sure.
And again, it's what they do,
Yeah.
which
Right.
makes perfect sense.
3
Right.
days.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
That's
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dalton.
Next slide, please. So I'm going to give you a little general update on administration and what we're doing right now. We're working on some billing enhancements for our customers to be able to literally pay your bill with your cell phone. Trying to make it seamless, very easy to sign up for automatic payments, direct payments, and so forth. We have monthly billing right now for all our commercial and industrial. There's a number of residents who like monthly billing. They've signed up So I just want to remind everybody, if that works better for you, monthly billing, call us, and that's available for residential customers as well. Good. Water meter update. Our water meters are very sophisticated. They can tell us if there's unusual usage at some houses. We've been making phone calls. Some people are wary that they're getting a phone call, like, sure, you're trying to get us to reduce our water bill? Come on. But that's exactly what's happening. So I know Mark.
I got one.
Yeah, so Mark obviously knew me when I called him. There's unusual water usage, so if we can help with customers.
And it was as simple as a flapper not working in the toilet and then running overnight without us knowing. But that was what if I was down the shore for the weekend or something around
Right.
town? That's a good phone call to get. It's a tremendous service.
I
Yeah,
have other folks that have called me, Tim, and they said that the water authority called and said they had no idea. And they were so grateful for that. So I think that's a great service,
So if you
great
see
service.
Hagee pop up on your phone, answer the call.
Yeah. So you can follow us on Facebook, follow our website for updates, particularly with new customer billing enhancements coming online. We did participate in Touch a Truck. Dalton was there with some of our crew. Picture on your right's fall flushing. We're almost complete. It's always a little bit of disruption to the system, but it's necessary to remove any sediment that gets in a line. It's a normal thing. It's normal to flush the water system. We also exercise the fire hydrants. As you know, the Seafood America tragedy, 2.5 million gallons was used on that fire. So our fire protection service works. We find fire hydrants that do not work when we flush, so we have to repair them or replace them. So you'll see a bag over them. We had to call, hey, why is there a bag over my hydrant? It's out of service. Lets the fire companies know it's out of service, but we'll be back to replace it. Next slide, please.
Hey, Tim, can I stop for 1 second here and remind residents, because I know people on my block do it now that we're getting into winter time. Get a lot of snow, you're out shoveling your front, get a few neighbors together and shovel out that fire hydrant. Because you might need it.
Absolutely.
Good point, Mark.
Just might need it.
This slide is about MIRIA. I think we've talked about that a couple of times. MIRIA is the Military Installation, Remediation, and Infrastructure Authority. It's a miracle for us, for our residents. It provides annual funding to help the communities that are affected by the PFAS contamination so that we can get some of those funds to help with the customers. One way to help with the customers is this quarter, the fourth quarter, for 90 days, you'll have your service charge for water, but you will not have a water charge. So again, this year, we'll have 90 days without a usage charge for water. So we're happy to do that, and that comes through the MIRIA Authority. Next slide, please. Water quality. I was at Ivyland last month. You always have to talk about water quality. With the issues that we've had here in Warminster, we continue to provide a high-quality water to our customers. 90% of that comes from the advanced treatment facility at Forest Park. We have 10% supplied through our wells. They're all treated, and our PFAS level is 0. It's not mandated. The levels are advisory level is at 70 parts, but we want our customers to have 0.
Repeat that again, please.
The advisory level is 70 parts per trillion. We want to have 0 for our customers, and that's what we've been
Because a
providing.
few years back, when this all erupted with this PFOA, the WMA was very, very aggressive in shutting those wells down when they weren't mandated to be shut down, so that the residents here would
That's
get
right.
clean water.
That's
To their
absolutely
credit.
right.
To their credit.
And to their credit, they made sure that we were below detectional limits, which is just about 0. And, and there's other suppliers out there that 70 parts per trillion is, if you're below 70 parts per
You're good.
trillion, that's what you get. So, I commend you for that.
Thank you.
I have one quick question for you, Tim. I've gotten some questions from folks, We have the contract with North Wales, and when does that end? Is it 10, it's a 10-year program, I believe?
It's a 10-year contract that we
Contract.
started in middle of 2016.
Right, okay, so after the 10 years is up, will we be able to have most of our things online? I mean,
That's,
what's gonna happen after the 10 years? Do you happen to know or not at this?
no, we don't know at this point.
Oh, okay.
The treatment issues are ongoing.
it's
Funding is an issue.
expensive, right.
It's very expensive.
Right.
We've pioneered some treatment. Joe Nolan here with CKS
Okay.
has worked with us, and we've developed better treatment technologies over the years to make it cheaper, but it's very, very expensive.
And that was the one question I wanted to ask. I think 4 of our wells were fitted up with filtration systems courtesy of the federal government. But
Correct.
how's that working out? I know it was a new thing for everyone.
Right.
Because I know you had taken us for a tour there when they were being installed. The carbon has to be replaced periodically.
Well, luckily, we have a better media now than carbon. Carbon does not work very well for us. It only lasted at our well 10 facility 28 days.
Really?
And then it takes about a month and a half to take the media out, install new media, and then you have to get the testing done, and testing sometimes 4 weeks. So you can't operate a well system with 1 month on, month and a half off for your wells. So we've, with help from CKS and some local companies, Altair being one of them, we've kind of pioneered the use of resin. It's ion exchange. Our worst well is our well 26. It's by far the most polluted well. It's
Wow.
one of the most polluted public wells in the nation, unfortunately. We don't use that water, but we do treat it. I can tell you there's nothing going on from the federal government to treat groundwater in our area. They've been very good about hooking up people to the public water supply if they're above 70 parts per trillion. But as far as treatment and containing that plume, nothing's been going on. So our well 26, we run it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's very unusual for a well, but we send that to the stream. That resin lasted for 3 years at the worst well that we have. So we still don't have to change it out yet, but if we were using as a drinking water well, we would have changed it out when it broke through the first vessel. But 3 years as opposed to 28 days.
But it is much more expensive, I found. Is that correct?
The media is a little more expensive to buy,
Right.
but it's cost effective. It's much more cost effective.
And it lasts a lot longer.
Well, that's why it's actually cost effective,
Right,
yes.
right, which
It's
is
actually
great.
cheaper,
Yes,
because you get 3 years or longer out of it.
That's great.
For a treatment system, recovery well treatment system, that's good.
New Jersey
And Joe,
DEP.
great job, thank you.
Yeah, New Jersey DEP looked at that well. They wanted to come see what we learned. They do a little bit different in New Jersey than they do in PA, where they actually they would put the treatment on instead of us putting it on and have to pay for it. They have a different funding model in New Jersey, but they came to look at it. I said, I said, why are you here? You're the DEP. He said, well, we have to install the treatment system. Okay, so we want to learn from you what you've done so we can avoid the same issues. So resin is the only way to go. I talked with the Doylestown Authority today. They're talking about putting on treatment. And I said, forget carbon. Just go straight to ion exchange. So it works very well for us. But the answer to your question, 10 years, we don't know yet,
Right.
Kathy.
That's okay.
But we are committed to zero.
well, you have gotten so much done so far, and you're really forging the way for, and being the prototype for a lot of other townships and municipalities, and I commend you and your team because you're doing a phenomenal job.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. So we talked about being fast on when we got notice that there was contamination. We had treatment on our well 26 in 6 days. The United States government still hasn't treated any groundwater.
Oh, my God.
But at the
I believe that.
Air National Guard base in Horsham, the new Biddle, It's newly renamed Biddle Base. We installed treatment for stormwater. So there's another thing we're doing, is we're actually treating stormwater to remove PFAS because we have experience at it. This slide shows you 4 tanks in each train to remove PFAS from stormwater. I told you earlier the limit is 70 for drinking water. There really is no standard for stormwater, but we have one of the only, I think it's the only NPDES permit in the nation for treating PFAS stormwater, and particularly on a military base. Water was going out at 5,500 parts per trillion to the stream. So we're helping the environment, we're helping the people by cleaning up the Little Neshaminy. You probably have seen fish advisory in the Neshaminy Creek, and a lot of pollution was coming from this facility. Chairman Hayes and another one of my board members toured this with the Horsham Rab group, but again, this is one of the only in the nation.
That's really impressive.
Very.
Next slide, please. We're doing capital improvements. We continue to do capital improvements. It's a lot of work for staff, but we've replaced a lot of aging water mains. We've torn up a lot of streets, made people detour. Most of that, all of that is done. We've installed new water mains in streets that didn't have it. We are upgrading sewer pump stations. We upgrade the sewer wastewater treatment plants. And the only thing that's really not done yet, they're working on sewer pump station 8, finishing that up. But the rehabilitation of the sewer lines is done without digging. It's trenchless. They do it from manhole to manhole. We don't have to rip up the streets. We do about just shy of 2 miles every year, and that's starting right now. Next slide, please. This is a map. We're very happy. We draw on this map each time we complete a ductile iron water main, replace the old cast iron or add to our system. So you can see with the blue is all ductile iron. We're making good progress for our authority and our customers. Next slide, please. I'll take any other questions anybody has.
I think you covered it, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank you
Tim.
very
Thank
much.
you. Thanks very much. Yeah, how about we, while we're on the subject of the municipal authority, we have a, under new business, that's correct. B, C, and D. So, Steve, I'm going to hand that over to you, okay?
Sure. Actually, A, B, and C.
Right.
That makes sense.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since Tim Dalton and their engineer is here, under new business, we have 3 items that involve the Warminster Municipal Authority. Item A is consider approval of easement agreement with the WMA to install a water main across Warminster Community Park. This would, I'll have Tim or the engineer explain what the water main is. And go ahead, gentlemen, you'll be able to do it better than I. And we'd look for a motion tonight from the board to authorize staff to work with the water authority to determine the final alignment of the water main. You can imagine it's a rather large project. And we would work in the field to be able to come up with a legal description for the water main. And we also have to jump through one other additional hurdle that Karen Whitney had reminded me about. This land came from the Department of the Interior, and the township's responsibility is to make sure that we give them the opportunity to review anything that we do in that park. Remember, it was a Superfund site, so they're very cognizant of any digging that goes on. So we'll have to jump through a few hoops before we can get to a final determination.
Tell them to pay up and then we'll jump through any hoop they ask.
There you go. There you go. But
Karen's pretty efficient at dealing with
She
the
is.
Department of Interior.
She
She's done
is.
it since we took possession of that property, so.
Mark, very good point, and we're gonna work hard to get it done quickly because we know it's an important project for the authority.
Yeah, what this project is connecting a water main on a cul-de-sac on Kirk Road to the dead end on Newtown Road to go through the park. We're going around the existing parking areas there. And what we try to do is, we don't like dead ends in our system. We like to loop the system so there's constant flow and you don't have the sediment that we're talking about. Plus, it promotes better chlorine distribution throughout the system. And this is another example of the authority improving the efficiency of their system and the quality of the water that we're giving to the residents. So, again, we like to connect dead ends to create loop systems, and that's what this is. This is one of these things that's been out there, and it's the time to do it.
Do you have to go through any of Penn State's property with this, or no?
No.
That's good.
No.
May I ask you real quick, it's funny you brought up about the fence. I know that there's a locked fence in that area, and that dead-end street that you're talking about on Newtown. Residents before could just go to the park by going through, but it's locked now. At any point, is that going to be available to those residents that live there so they can go through the park?
Are you talking,
At the end of
Well-
Newtown Road where the tower is there, and there's a locked gate?
Isn't that Penn State's?
We're not going to affect the gate at all. So
Okay.
whatever
Is
is
that-
there
Penn
is
State's.
going to stay.
Oh,
At the end of Newtown?
yes.
Yeah, isn't that where the
I
Penn
think that's
State
Penn
has their?
State's property.
Yeah, I think that's Penn State's property, isn't it?
I think it is.
Because
That's
they
where that
said
round building is
the
we're talking about
residents are saying
today.
it was never locked before, and they want to be able to get to the park. All right,
Well,
so.
it's,
They're gonna have to go up
Do we
the-
I
they're gonna have to
think
go up
when
the street.
we get to a point of working at where, we need to develop a comprehensive plan for Shenandoah Woods and for that
I
whole area.
basically told them that, so,
So
yes.
that would be a good time to look comprehensively at where all the access points are.
Right, right.
And we can
They
take
just
that-
want access, that's
Sure.
all. Okay, thanks, Steve, that's a great
Yep,
suggestion.
Yep.
okay.
The only thing I'd add is that Joe's correct that it helps with disinfection. It's really the primary driver here. And one of the reasons why we have trouble with disinfection is we shut down our wells. Each well has a chlorine injection site for disinfection. The disinfection level has doubled that we have to maintain. And so we're going to look for MIRIA funding for this project also because it's affected us because we have to shut the wells down. Without the wells operating, we can't provide as effective as disinfection system as we should.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Great job, guys.
All right, so that's the first one.
So we take an action individually, or can we do it
I
all
think-
together?
You gotta do it individually.
Individually?
Oh, we
So
do?
a motion would be in order to direct staff to work with the Water Authority to accomplish an easement agreement across Warminster Community Park
Motion.
with the two items that I mentioned. We need to get approval from Department of Interior and for field work to determine the final easement area.
So moved, Mr.
That-
Chairman.
I'll second it.
Second, okay. Any questions or comments? Questions or comments from the public? All right, being none, we'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. All right, let's go to B.
Yes, B is related to what Tim and Dalton were talking about earlier today, which is the MS4 pollution reduction plan regarding with the we're a joint permittee with the authority. And as part of that process, a pollution reduction plan is required. And this is, I think you're looking for authorization to advertise that? Is that the motion for tonight?
That is correct.
Public review period?
Yep, for the review period of that, and that document was submitted in your packets. But please,
Yes.
if you wouldn't mind, give us a briefing on that.
You want to do
Yeah, so the pollutant reduction plan, we are responding to DEP's comments from November of 2018 that we've done the work. The issues from DEP that we are unpermanent at as we stand was the unfunded, pretty much the BMP list, what they called it a wish list, and the incorrect mapping of the system. So our engineer has done the work. So ultimately, this is the application to DEP for a pollutant load reduction plan as the co-permittee with the township. The township is just responsible for the biannual street sweeping that you already currently do. Everything else will be taken on by the authority.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Should I make a motion?
Yes.
All right.
Second.
I make a motion to allow for the Board of Supervisors to approve the advertisement of the pollution reduction plan for a 30-day public comment period.
I will second that.
Okay. Any questions or comments? I know they came through my neighborhood today with the sweeper. And, you know, it's,
It's over.
yeah.
Only bring them at election time.
Yeah, right.
It's a very expensive
Well,
program.
It is.
Yeah.
And to do it the way DEP wants it would be incredibly
Correct.
expensive.
Correct. So we're going to keep it at the biannual
Yeah,
schedule
exactly.
as of now.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes into this stormwater management and best management practices, or BMPs as they're called. Much more than most residents would probably imagine. It's very, very complex, especially now with the new, there's going to, you know, the way they measure the stormwater effluent into the streams is quite complicated. So anyway, any questions or comments from the public? Okay, being none, we'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last item with the Water and Sewer Authority, this is actually related to sewers. A little earlier today, Tim had a map up which had the water system. There's a similar map that has the sewer system. The Act 537 plan is a plan that the township is in control of. So you determine where sewers are provided and how effluent is treated in the township. And the Water and Sewer Authority, they accomplish that objective. They would like to make a change to that plan, so it comes to you to authorize that change. So they have advertised a public comment period already on this change that they're asking for. We have a packet here at the Township Building that if the public wanted to come in, they could come in and look at it. Same at the Authority Building as well. That period is now over, and I believe Mr. Nolan and Tim are going to describe the extension of this sewer system, which is, it's rather small, but we still have to go through this formality.
Right, thank you. Yes, DEP indicated that we had to do what they call a Component 3M, which is a municipal request to revise your current 537 sewage facilities plan. What we're talking about here is Kirk Road. You may recall several years ago, there was a 3-lot subdivision that happened on Kirk Road. And as part of that subdivision, they installed a low-pressure sanitary sewer line up the Kirk Road from the authority's system to provide sanitary sewer service to those 3 lots with low-pressure system. That means each of those lots has a grinder pump on the property, which grinds the sewage and pumps it into a small diameter force main, which then discharges into our system. There are 8 additional properties further up that road that currently have no public sewer, and they're all on lot systems. The authority decided to extend that low-pressure system about 950 feet, which would then allow all of those 8 properties to also be connected to the sanitary sewer system with a grinder pump. It would be an extension of the low-pressure system. We have the module package plan already completed, which was what was advertised. That 30-day period is now done. I believe there were no comments submitted. We'll ask the township to give us a letter to that effect to include in the package. But the next step, now that the advertisement period is over, is for the Board of Supervisors to pass a resolution adopting that plan. I have provided a copy of that resolution in that package, and our action tonight is to request that you consider and approve that plan. From that point, we will then submit the entire package to DEP. They'll hopefully approve it. Then we have to submit a permit, another permit, to do the actual construction. So we're still in the planning stages, and we're asking for that resolution this evening.
Sure sounds like it's gonna take a long time to go accomplish
Well,
stuff.
it's the same process if it's 8 homes or 800.
Okay.
You just have, it's just the paperwork.
Gotcha. All right,
So-
well, thank you for that explanation.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Mr. Chairman, if I just jump in.
Yeah, I was
I
going to
did,
ask you.
I did, it's a complicated process, whether it's 8 or 800. I did review it at the request of, review the planning module at the request of the township manager. It's straightforward, as Joe just said, so I didn't even put a letter together. Since it's the authority with the relationship between the two governmental agencies, we did a quick review, checked off all the boxes, and I advised Steve that it was fine to bring before you tonight. So I did review it on behalf of the township. Obviously, Joe and I have a good working relationship, and I didn't have any issues with it, but everything's ready in order for your approval tonight.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks,
Craig.
Craig.
Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to consider approval of Resolution 2021-21, authorizing an amendment to Township Act 537.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, any more questions or comments? I had seen this already, so, over at the municipal authority, so I
We've
have no
amended this
questions.
plan several times, Steve.
Yeah.
This
Yeah, I mean,
isn't- this
every-
isn't out of the ordinary.
Right, exactly.
No.
Any questions or comments from the public? Come on up, sir.
My name's Sean Pope. I'm one of said 8 residents.
Please come.
Come on up here to the podium, please. Yeah, go ahead now.
Yep, my name is Sean Pope. I'm one of the 8 residents on the thing. I love this guy. I've been talking to him over
We
the-
do too.
over the past couple of months. My understanding is that, the sewers will get extended up the rest of the street, which I'm exceptionally excited about. I want to be able to flush, and it's gone. Currently, we have septic systems on the street. There are a number of residents that are not supportive of it. My understanding is the way that this will work is they will not be forced to hook up to it until, they want to, basically.
Exactly.
And that was one of the key things that I had worked with him to make sure that's done. But there are a number of residents that do definitely want the sewers.
Okay.
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
out.
Thanks for the comments.
Anyone else? Come on, John.
John Priola, 674 Joseph Avenue. I just have a couple questions. Who's paying for the grinder pumps? Is the municipal authority paying for it, or is the resident paying to install it? And who's going to pay to maintain it? Or is the municipal authority going to do that? If the pump breaks down, is the resident responsible for the repair?
That's a question for Joe.
The authority will install the main and what's called a lateral assembly to the property line. From there, it would be the resident's responsibility to purchase and have the grinder pump installed and connected to the system. Now, there are many other grinder pumps in the township, and the township has a maintenance program that they have available to the residents if they want to participate in it. And I don't know how many we have, but it's,
We probably have about 50.
yeah, 50.
Okay.
So, what we suggest is, there's a certain grinder pump that we'd say specify, it's called E1. And the authority, has spare parts for that system. So, and that they would, enter into a maintenance program with the authority for the authority to handle it.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
So-
What are the costs for the residents that are interested in having that? Do you like a ballpark, I'm not gonna hold you to it.
Well, there's different costs, okay?
Okay.
There's the cost of the tapping fee to the system.
Okay,
You'd pay that if grinder pump's involved or not involved, and that's the part of purchasing capacity in the system. And then there's the cost of the grinder pump, purchasing the grinder pump and having that connection. A grinder pump is around $5,000, but you have to have it installed. You gotta connect, you gotta abandon your septic system, I do this a lot, and to put a replacement septic system or a low sand mound system today in any municipality is in the $30,000 to $40,000 range.
okay.
This is less than that, but it's still significant money. It's still probably gonna be in the $25,000 to $30,000 range.
Right,
But at least you'll have permanent system and you
and
won't
it's very
be-
effective, is what you're
Yes,
saying.
and,
Okay.
and it'll work, so.
Thank you.
So the authority treats the sewage rather than your septic Does that answer your question, John?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. All right, so we have to call a question if there's no more comments or questions. All right, let's call a question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye, motion carries 5-0. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, and thank you for moving us up. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks so
it's my
much.
pleasure. Thank you, Joe. Dalton?
Thank you, guys.
See you later. Okay. Now we get to the first public comment, I believe. Oh, wait a minute, there's no land use tonight, correct? Right, okay. So we'll go to public comment. Anyone? Come on up.
John Capozzi, 530 Penrose. I had a couple questions. Of course, I just missed my opportunity to talk to Mr. Hagee, but it wasn't part of tonight's presentation. He did mention that there was going to be a fee assessed for the stormwater. Has that been established, and is it going to be adopted? There, on the Warminster Municipal Authority website, it showed a comparison of some sample fees, and it listed like mostly the bigger properties like Wood and Nativity and the schools, and those fees are pretty good. Like I saw Wood's fee was $950. Centennial was anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 a month. So what's it going to be for the residents, and when is that going to go into effect? I mean, I don't know if Mr. Hagee,
Yeah, that would be a question for Tim.
do they have to go before the board to before this gets adopted?
I'll jump in a little bit.
Okay.
They haven't finalized that yet.
Okay.
In fact, I thought they were going to go into more detail tonight on that.
Yeah,
but-
that's what I thought, that this tonight.
And that
tonight
might
would
be a
include that.
good follow-up presentation to educate the residents on, because they're going to be running all of that. That will not be at the township staff level, so that's all in the authority. We're not involved at all as far as how to calculate it, their policies, procedures. So that's something that Mr. Hagee and his staff will be, presenting and going through that. So we don't have anything, unless Mr. Wiesner has it, I don't have any draft of that yet. I know what they're doing. We do this in every other municipality, so I just usually am sitting on the township side of things. But
Because
the
if they were-
authority will be in charge of all those fees and how they also credits. I mean,
Right, I
they'll be
saw
making
that,
that
because he
decision.
had that up on there in the
Yeah,
slide.
that's not this board, they'll be making that decision on,
Yeah.
the
Right.
fees, the credits and all that.
Right, because he did mention that fee when Mr. Dalton George, he mentioned that in his, presentation. He showed the bullet points, and there was going to be a fee, there was going to be some credits, for removing cutouts, curb cutouts, and maintaining a sewer inlet, and so on. So, like, what does that come out to be if that proposed cost is adopted? What would that?
We don't know
I-
that. That's not,
I
they haven't
usually-
established it yet.
I couldn't
Yeah.
even, I have no
So I
idea.
think the best thing would be to, sorry, Craig.
No, that wasn't me.
I think the best thing to do, that's something that would be at the municipal authority, so you would
No,
probably.
I understand that, but because
Well,
they're,
you should probably, it won't be adopted here, it'll be adopted over there, so
Yeah.
you should probably attend their meeting and
Okay.
ask that question
yeah,
over there, which is this
because we had a
Monday, by the way.
sinkhole, we have an easement that goes through our property with the storm line, and that's going to bring me up to another question in a minute. And Mr. Dalton George came out to the house. I spoke to him, very personable guy, very knowledgeable. And I asked him about attending the municipal authority meeting, and he said, it's really not like the Warminster, supervisors meeting where you can ask questions and do those kind of things. I haven't been to a municipal authority meeting, but it was my understanding from him that he said, if you want answers to any of your questions, you have to come to the supervisors meeting.
No, he's mistaken. You can come to that meeting and you can ask questions.
Okay, because
And,
and I don't mind going to attend, but I would like to ask a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Anyway, my original question about the fee, even though it's not adopted yet, but because they did an example fee schedule, but they only showed the large properties, like if using that example, if they were to adopt what they showed in that example, what would that come out to be for, you know, a resident? Does anybody, they didn't go that far.
Nobody, they haven't established that yet, so it's going to be much different and much lower, but they have not
Okay,
established
so it's
that.
not going to be the
Yeah,
exact
so
same fee.
I've done this in other municipalities before. They do those larger properties different than they do residential properties. They use what's called an equivalent residential unit. They take like an average size property throughout Warminster and try and apply it that way. I don't know if that's how they're going to do
Okay.
it, but that tends to be the way you see it done for the residential properties. They figure out what the average size and the average amount of impervious service they have in the properties within the township, and they have like a flat annual fee then. Again, I don't know if that's the way they're going, but that tends to be how we've seen it done in the industry.
Okay.
So I would think that would be a good question for this Monday, if you
Right, I saw that on the.
so choose to attend, and I would
Okay.
encourage that.
Okay, yeah.
That'll be
it'd
Monday,
nice
I
to
think
get an
at
idea.
5:30, that's right.
My next question involving stormwater is, of course, you know, Hurricane Ida and our street at Penrose Lane, which that whole development always flooded during the heavy rains. And back when there was a little bit of money in the township stormwater fund, there, you know, Mr. Kennard, he was very helpful in implementing priorities for putting some of that money to use, and one of them was the Whittier Basin, the other one was in 8th and Green. And it was my understanding when Mr. Velton came around with the FEMA people, because my one neighbor's house got flooded again, and it was higher than it ever been. And the way the water has always flooded on our street, it reaches a certain level, then it flows overland from street to street to street to street till it gets to, you know, a downstream point. And it's always maintained that certain height. This time around, it was higher than it ever been. So I don't think the rain from Ida was more than, say, Hurricane Floyd or Sandy. So my neighbor at 529 Penrose, Jeff Richmond, he usually gets about 3 or 4 inches of water on his first floor when the street floods. This time he got 8 inches of water. So now it's worse. So and he said that the Whittier Basin failed, and it failed miserably. So it was only meant to, and I do have to commend that the Whittier Basin did help for all the moderate storms, but this is the first time it's been tested with a major storm. Now, I know the municipal authority is now taking over this project, but we as the township, you know, paid to have that Whittier Basin done.
It was a big project.
And they also did.
So there's a lot of other things.
So, wait a minute, I just want to say
Go
two more
ahead.
things about that. So just to cap it off, when that was done, there was a study that was done, and it mentioned, it's about a 15-page report, engineer study, that said everything from increasing the size of the pipes that go through that development to adding additional pipes, all at major costs to try to reduce this flooding. And then, of course, since then, they have built the homes, you know, the Toll Brother homes at the Detrow Farm. And now they have what used to be an open farmland and the water running off into an open stream. They now have retention basins. So I don't know whether anything from what they did caused additional backup downstream, which is where we were, to cause the water level to go higher than it's ever been. So, you know, I was wondering if that can be looked at, if Mr. Kennard can you know, kind of address that one way or the other to see if that actually contributed to what we're seeing now.
Well, that's up to the authority now, so that would be.
Yeah, that's another.
I've been relieved of my duties of that area, even though I did that before.
But even though our township and our township engineers approved all the,
Well, I can certify to all the land development. Here, again, and these conversations come up in every municipality. It was not, that basin, I'm not sure if Whittier was designed for 100-year. So when you said the smaller storms, that's the, you know, you're never going to control these hurricanes that come through. In other municipalities, that was close to a 500-year storm rain event in that localized area. So I don't know about Warminster here. In fact, because the authority's taken over, I don't have that data anymore, and I don't want to spend taxpayer dollars looking up stuff like that. But
Right. You know, and
there's
I can certify to the new development. They're all designed for a 100-year storm.
Okay.
Ida, through most of my other clients, was more than 100 years, so it all failed. I have culverts that were just designed that all failed. The roads failed and the culvert's still sitting there because it just couldn't get any more water through. So
Right, but-
I can, if you document that again through the authority, then they'll reach out to us and I'll get involved as needed. That development you were talking about was all designed for a 100-year storm. Anything above that, it's going to fail.
Right, but if they're putting water into the same system that we're putting water
Yeah,
into.
you're looking at more of a regional approach.
Right, I mean,
And that's
I don't know if
not-
that's causing, a backup because of that. In other words, you can only fit so much water into a pipe, and now, we're overflowing that pipe, and now they're adding to that same, watershed. before it
So
goes
you're,
into the-
also, you have to remember that there's only so much water that any surface water body, meaning a stream or a creek, can handle as well. So all around Warminster has been being developed continuously as well. So now when you have these 100 and 150-year storms, you're increasing the amount of runoff, which was actually runoff is what's in the streams and creeks. So you've increased that to the point where there's no more area, surface area in the creek, in the bed itself to handle water flow, so everything backs up.
You lost
So-
capacity in the system.
So, right, so regionally, you lost capacity in the system, that's correct. And that's the natural system. So when all those streams are flooding and backing up, and it goes all the way down to the discharge at the Delaware River, everything's backed up from there, and there's not enough pipes in the world to handle that.
Right, but we didn't see the water actually becoming a lake from Little Neshaminy over to Penrose Lane. I mean,
Well, it's an exceptional storm also,
Right.
because there were areas right around us that had 7 inches of rain. So that got dumped into the Neshaminy Creek, which
Yeah.
backed up everything else. We
Everything
might have
else.
only gotten 2 inches of rain, but everywhere else got 7, and that went into the stream. So that's backing everything else up.
Okay, so I guess the municipal authority is also responsible for keeping the waterways clean of overgrown brush and debris?
The basins?
No, not the.
Well, at the end of the head wall
No.
on, at Ivy Land Road and Phillips, where it cuts across the corner of the Doucher Farm, that is pretty well is well overgrown. I don't know whether that impedes the water flow. And I'm not sure if that's
If
exactly
you're talking
where our
about
water-
natural waterways, that's different. I mean, that's not part of the MS4 system. That's a natural drainage way. That's always a touchy situation. Technically, each
Right, but
property owner's
that's where the head wall that
It's
goes
private
underneath
property.
Ivy Land Road dumps into
Yeah.
that stream bed, and,
What worked in the past, I mean, we're talking real big regional, and Chairman's right, like, there could be a clog, there could be some trees down in one of the waterways you just mentioned, and that's backing up.
Right.
That needs to be investigated. If you just take pictures, get it to the authority, get it to the township.
Okay, so the
And
authorities
we'll all
to-
get involved. I'll tell you, years ago, we handled a lot of big projects, and it was about, we didn't know about half these problems until someone took a picture and documented them.
Right.
And we made a priority list, and you got, your one basin was one of
Right.
these.
And that's a good point. Yeah, that's a
Please
good point,
document it,
because
because
if
we
there's-
really
Okay.
don't know. It could be simply a maintenance issue and not because here's the other thing, these basins get clogged. When I go out after these rain events, back in the day when I actually get out in the field a lot more, I have pulled what looks like a plywood off of an outlet structure, a concrete outlet structure, which was trash bags, branches and debris. But when you get these 100-year, 500-year storms,
It all washes
the
up.
pressure that you
Yeah.
get, it clogs all the holes and it goes out over the emergency system. If no one
Right.
goes and clears that the next day, which is what typically doesn't happen. Everybody's worried about their own house. The HOAs are not set up yet to get out there right away. There's only so many contractors. You wouldn't believe how many times I went out in the past and saw all the holes clogged. And all someone had to do was clean it out and then get the water flowing again. Same thing with the creek. So document it, take pictures, get it to the authority in the township, and I will get involved with the newer developments. But I'll tell you, everything's designed for a 100-year storm in any project in this township. It's usually a maintenance issue downstream, or, to be honest with you, another township, the county dam backed up, and the engineer sitting here tonight, CKS, I work with him in another township. He actually changed the design of the pump station for a regional area around Lake Galena and raised it another foot after that storm. Now, he knows what he's doing. I know what I'm doing. And he sat in the township and said, I'm going to raise it another foot, because the county dam backed up the whole area.
Oh,
And then the
wow.
lake couldn't drain, and that's the same thing that happens on a smaller scale around here.
Mm-hmm.
Your development doesn't have basins. A couple supervisors here, they don't have detention basins. This whole area was built without stormwater facilities, so all these new developments hold it back, but then it doesn't have anywhere to go because all the runoff from other townships.
Right.
Right?
Okay, well, thank you very much.
John,
Yeah.
real quick,
Yes.
the Whittier Basin, on the whole, it is performing though, right? That's the first time I've heard a word about the Whittier Basin in
Well,
years.
according to Mr. Velton, he said that, he said it failed during this storm.
But which was 100?
Which is
Oh, it was way over. It was
But on
fine.
the whole, on
I
the
don't
average,
know if
it is
any
performing.
damage was done to the basin. I don't know if the standpipe was damaged. I haven't been over there to the basin myself.
But up
to
until
look.
this storm, it's been performing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But we haven't
That's
had
the
any.
first time I've heard.
But we haven't had any major storms.
Right,
I mean,
right.
we've been
Well, that was,
dodging.
that was an exceptional
That was a big,
storm.
that was a
Right.
big undertaking at that time. That was
Oh,
a good job.
yeah, no, and we were happy that it
Right.
improved things.
Right.
But then we got the big one and it didn't,
Yeah.
it didn't really do the job.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that all over the township, and, you know, there's not enough pipes on the world for that amount of water in that shorter period. You know, you can take 7 inches of rainfall and handle that over a period of 3 days, but you can't handle that type of water in a period of 2 or 3 hours. It's impossible. I don't care where you live. You can live in farm field and where it's all farms, and if you're near a creek or a stream, you're going to take in water of that type of
know.
rain.
And
But I would say come over to the municipal authority. I mean, I know that they're customer oriented. If you have some pictures of some basins that may have the inlets clogged or the outfalls or whatever, they will clean them out right away.
Okay, well, I know they're very good. We had a
Yeah.
sinkhole along the pipeline in the easement, and they were right out there to take care of it.
Yeah, they'll take care of it, and
And
because we
real
don't.
quick, the incredible thing from that storm was that it took a little bit of time, say about 40 minutes or an hour or two, for the water to start backing up. But then the rain subsided for maybe 20 minutes, and the water was all gone. And then, as soon as it started up again, it only took 10 minutes, and it was higher than it was before,
Wow.
because I was gauging it where it come up my driveway and where it comes over to the side of my house.
Yeah.
And, by that time it was too late, 2 cars got stuck. It's just unfortunate.
That's the most water I've ever taken. I've been here 22 years.
Yeah.
Most water I've taken in my house. Yeah.
Yeah, and on another good note, from the September 1st meeting, it was right after the Hurricane Ida, and a lot of residents from our neighborhood were complaining about the grass clippings not being picked up and Mascaro, and, now they're back on track, and, everything is good, so
Okay.
we thank them for that.
Glad to hear it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Good to
Thank
see you, John.
Good to see you.
Thanks, John.
All right, so I broke the rule, and I allowed John to speak for quite a long time.
He's a VIP.
But unless somebody has some lengthy thing, I would ask that we all kind of shorten it up a little bit, we'll just try to observe the 3-minute rule. I mean, I don't mind things going over a little bit, but anyone else have comments, questions?
Yeah, he talks longer than I do.
That's a good comment. Good comment, John. Now, we welcome everybody here, and, and we'll, like I said, Dalton will address all that stuff for you.
Okay.
Okay, you're welcome. All right. Okay, let's go to the consent agenda. Do I need a motion to pull this from the agenda? The minutes?
No.
No? All right, so the minutes were not quite finished from last meeting, so we're going to pull that from the agenda, and we'll put it on November 18th. Okay? So now we have to consider 911 York Road, Lot 1, Assisted Living, release number 3 from the escrow account in the amount of $202,000, or $202,246.65. Acknowledgement of the township holiday, Friday, December 31st, in observance of New Year's Day, 2022. And we'll consider the approval of designation of agent for public assistance to Tropical Depression Ida, DR 4618. Everyone's seen that in the packet. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
And I'll second with a question if
Sure.
possible. I see that the holiday's going to be December 31st, Friday, observance for New Year's Day. Does that mean reorganization will be Monday night? Have we look at, because it's normally the Monday after New Year's.
It's the Monday following New Year's.
So we'll be having reorg that Monday night then, being that the holiday's going to be observed on Friday. That's my question.
Well, reorg is,
Yeah, reorg unless it is January 1st, 2020.
It'll be the Monday after.
First, it has to be the Monday, first Monday.
So
in
we're going to
January.
observe that Friday is the holiday, so Monday will be open for business. I can assume that will be reorganization that night.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So, is there a motion to, we already made the motions, right?
Motion and second
Okay.
one, yep.
Any questions, or any other questions or comments? Okay, so if not, let's call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye, motion carries 5-0. Okay, John? Oh, wait a minute, no. I'm getting ahead of myself. Yes, the, Mary, I think it's you're up.
Yes. Bill list dated October 21st, 2021, in the amount of $4,930,257.83. And a supplemental bill list dated October 29th, 2021, in the amount of $200,609.15, for a total of $5,130,866.98.
Motion to approve the bill list?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Second.
Any
Done.
questions or comments? Questions or comments from the public? If not, being none, we'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And chair votes aye, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. All right, now you're up, John.
All right, so we're going to take a look at the general fund as usual, then we'll switch over and we'll talk about the debt fund tonight. The general fund, we're still looking good. Revenues are up $745,000 from last year, which is a 5% increase, which is better than last month. We were at a 4% increase, so we're still trending upward. Some of the big ones with that is transfer tax still tends to be looking really great. EIT revenue's up, mercantile is up. Those three alone account for $923,000 of increased revenue.
All right.
So we're looking really good on those, but especially the transfer you can't count on every year. So just got to keep that in mind looking into the future. Expenses, they are down $227,000, which is a 2% decrease. Last month we were at a 5% decrease. So the expenses that we budget for increases in salaries and other personnel expenses, they are starting to work their way through the year. I would say next month, I doubt we will have a decrease in expenses because of a large increase in the MMOs that was paid in October. So just to prepare yourselves for that. Comparing it to budget, revenues, we're actually at 93% of our revenues for the year. Looking at it, a lot of uncertainty was happening when we were preparing the 2021 budget. It was very conservative. There was actually a decrease in EIT budgeted for 20 to 21 of 400,000. Well, the EIT has kept raising from year to year. So right there is why the revenues are exceeding budget. We're going to be well over budget for revenues this year compared to last. Expenses, we're at 62% of budget this year. Last year we were at 67%. So we're in the ballpark of trending what we spend each month compared to last year. Looking at the debt, instead of looking just through the end of September, which is everything we were just talking about, we're able to predict out how we're going to end this year. So I'm going to talk about the debt fund as a whole through the end of this year. Looking at it, the 2021 compared to 2020, there are some big changes though. The first was the debt principal expense of 2015 bond went up $568,000. The reason for that is because government accounting is kind of unique. The normal accounting standards would require that debt goes on the balance sheet. And the principal payments would lower that liability from year to year, and you would never actually see a principal expense. Government accounting is more of a shorter term look. So instead of putting that on the balance sheet, we actually have that expense every year. It's called modified accrual as opposed to full accrual. So besides the increase in principal, there's a revenue too. So as we take on new debt, instead of it going on as a liability, there's revenue in the debt fund of $693,000. That is the sum of the principal, the interest, and the issuance cost of the new debt. So those, for that one revenue and those three expenses, they net out to zero. So it's kind of, it looks like, oh, everything's, the revenues are going up, the expenses are going up, but they just kind of cancel each other out with this new debt. So the best way to compare the 2 years would be look at the 2015 bond interest and principal to the 2021 bond interest and principal. That shows an increase of principal of $10,500, nice even amount, and an increase of interest of $140,000. That is because of how much more debt we put on the books. And finally, it's also good to note that the interest on the tax anticipation note decreased $16,548. It was the same amount was borrowed for the same time period. So that's kind of what you can look at as interest rates, how much better they were this year as the TAN was being issued compared to last year.
Okay.
Okay? Any
Good
questions?
report, John.
No?
Good
Try to
job,
make it as
John.
brief as possible.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Thank you. And I didn't want to steal any of Steve's thunder for his presentation, so.
Okay. Thank you, John. Thanks, John. All right, I think we are up to Steve's presentation now at this point. There's no unfinished business, and we've went through A, B, and C. We have D, review of November 21 commercial zoning hearing board applications for possible board action.
Staff has looked at those applications and sees that there no need for the board to weigh in, that the zoning hearing board, through their normal course of action, should be able to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Okay. So now you're up, Steve.
Now you're up, Steve.
What everybody's been waiting for.
Well, the real budget meeting, of course, will be November 18th. Today is really just an introduction to the budget process. So I put together a quick PowerPoint slide for everyone here. John, if you can go to the next slide, we're here at November 4th, and as you can see, we started one step before this, and that was to work with the department heads to come up with a preliminary budget. So we have developed a preliminary budget. That's the responsibility of staff, the manager, finance director, department heads. We're going to introduce that tonight. The next step would be for the proposed budget. This is what is called for in the second-class township code. So that's where we get to the official step of the budget process. The second-class township code calls for a proposed budget to be presented and made available to the public for 20 days before you can actually adopt it. So at the next meeting, which is November 18th, we will be presenting a proposed budget. It'll have this as the starting point. We'll make that available to the public for 20 days, and then you're able to act on it thereafter. We have scheduled a review with the public on December, did the township advertise December 4th, which is your regular December 2nd. Thank you, John. Your regular meeting is December 2nd, so we'll have a review then, if needed. You know, we've been having one meeting a month, but, you know, if needed, you can have that review then. And then the final adoption is scheduled for the second meeting in December, which is December 16th, 2021. So today's just a brief on the budget.
Okay.
Thank you, John. Budget highlights of what we're putting together. Deficit spending in the township is stopped. Deficit spending means where you are spending more than the revenues you're taking in for the current year. So we've stopped that process. That has been a hindrance in the past and has diminished our fund balance over time. So that is very important to be aware of. We want to have a budget where your revenues are covering the expenses that you have for that year. Now, there are times when you will use a fund balance to balance a budget. But we've done that far too many times here, and we need to stop that deficit spending and now rebuild our fund balance. So the budget that I will be presenting to you for proposed budget on November 18th will have revenues and expenses neutral.
Excellent.
Okay? The real challenge to that are the long-term liabilities that the township has. The township has a huge liability of over $20 million for OPEB benefits that we must start addressing.
And what are OPEB benefits?
OPEB benefits are other post-retirement health care benefits primarily, but any post-retirement benefits to employees. The new accounting rules require that we put that liability on our books because we must pay it. It's something that is long into the future. So for example, our pension plans call for funding currently to pay for future benefits after people retire. We have a pension fund, and that grows because we're allowed to make investments in the stock market. You're allowed to buy municipal bonds, you're allowed to buy corporate bonds, and we have an advisor that tells us where we should invest that money to decrease our long-term liability. We don't have such a fund for the OPEB benefits. The long-term liability for the pension plans is less than $9 million. The plan for, the long-term liability for OPEB benefits is over $20 million and has grown by $2 million over the last year. Because there are no funds to be invested, we didn't experience any of the gains that the market recently offered. So that was bullet item number 2. For number 3, for each of the operating funds, we rely on current revenues to fund anticipated expenditures. So that's what I had mentioned a little bit earlier. You have capital funds as well. And a capital fund is a little bit different. We are going to put money away in a capital fund to pay for our future infrastructure costs, future park improvements, municipal complex improvements, whatever it might be. Those expenditures might not happen for several years. So we're going to try to fund that capital plan so that we can not go through 1 year where the general fund's got to push over a whole bunch of money to the capital fund to cover some huge expense that we have. We want to keep funding that capital plan so that when we have these capital expenditures, there's enough money in that fund to pay for them. And you can fund that a couple of different ways. You can fund it through a bond issue or a borrowing. That's not, that's a common way to do it. We've done that for our roads this year. You can also fund it through developer contributions that come in for those specific purposes. So your capital fund, the expenses may exceed your revenues in any particular year. So that's a fund that is usually funded and then depleted, different than an operating fund. So just kind of an explanation. So we put a fair amount of money away in our capital fund, and we have a unique opportunity that we've never had in all the time that I've been in local government, where the federal government is going to make available monies for municipalities for infrastructure. So
Yay.
we will use our capital funds for that purpose. And then the board had created an infrastructure committee at the last meeting where you can then evaluate where the needs, the biggest needs are in the township. So bullet item number 4, at our last meeting, we had the firefighters here. And we had talked about the need for daytime fire service. And we know that that's a real need. So I wanted to make mention, the preliminary budget, I don't have it in because we're still working with the fire companies. We had a meeting with them last Sunday, and they're ongoing. And I think everyone recognizes we're going to need to put this $1 million for the labor for firefighters, and I wanted to make mention of it here so that it didn't get lost. And, so we come right out front and say that that's part of the process. But we have to come to a sustainable agreement with the fire companies. And I'm optimistic that we will.
Okay.
So, bullet item number 4, proceeds from the sale of stormwater system have been used to reduce long-term obligations and not for operating expenditures. So we got a big windfall, one-hit wonder. If we use that for operating expenditures, it'd be gone and you'd never see its use. So at the last slide here, I have shown where I'm proposing, you get to vote to say whether you like that proposal or not, where that money should be used. The next item, we did a large road program this year. It did not include the curb ramps. We recognize that we need to do those curb ramps. So we are putting in this budget $350,000, part of a 3-year plan to make sure that we get all of the curb ramps redone where they are required to be redone for the roads that were paved this year. And then next year, the proposed or the preliminary budget has in $1 million for new road paving, which would also include, as part of that 1 million, the curb ramps for that program. And the next item is 350,000. Oh, I'm sorry, I just mentioned that one. Remediation of Shenandoah Woods will continue. Mr. McKee had mentioned about that basin. We need to look at, we have to develop a plan for Shenandoah Woods. The Redevelopment Authority is actively working to get the buildings down. Once those buildings are down, we need to have a plan for that park. Shenandoah Woods is going to be turned over to Warminster Community Park, or made part of Warminster Community Park. We don't yet have that final plan set. And also, the money that came over from, it's the ARP money, American Rescue Plan money, that was passed this year, and that we received $1.7 million of, allows for heating and ventilation improvements as part, to tackle or mitigate the risk of COVID, I believe is what the thoughts were. Ben Wilson Center has needed a heating and ventilation system for a long time. It is a place that has been in the Ben Wilson Center has been here for a long time. It serves a unique need for our residents, and we also use it sometimes as an emergency shelter. So we are responsible for the cost associated with that building. So I'm recommending that we set aside money for that ventilation system, but that would still be part of the infrastructure committee. That will be one of those things that you will look at. I'm going to put it aside for it. You will then determine whether the final to be, used for that purpose. Okay, thank you, John. Can you go to the next one? Millage, real estate millage distribution. You can see the large bar in the middle. That's the school district. The bar on the left is the township, and the bar on the right is the Bucks County. So there's a common misperception that when tax bills are sent out, that we receive the bulk of those taxes, but the bulk of that money goes to the school district. So we like to present this slide so everyone knows the value of what they get for their tax money. Thanks, John. This is just a history of real estate taxes in the township since 2010. Go ahead. And this is just another representation of where your tax dollars go. So for every dollar that you spend, every dollar that you put in for taxes, 76 cents goes to the school district, 13 cents goes to Bucks County, and only 11 cents goes to the township. And that pays for things like police service, code enforcement, parks and rec, all the things that people come accustomed to using on a daily basis.
Does that include the library, Steve?
It includes the library.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Thank you, Kathy.
Fire fund.
Fire.
There's the myriad funds
Right.
that goes, that 11 cents goes to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. Next slide. This is just a breakdown of where the revenues are coming from. 47% of our revenues come from Act 511 taxes. Act 511 taxes, John Ramey had mentioned this a little earlier, that those sources are up this year. We have to think of those as one-hit wonders again. They are, the real estate transfer tax, when we have a large parcel change in the township, we might receive $80,000 to $100,000 just from one parcel if it's a big shopping plaza or a big apartment complex. We can't rely on that source to be exactly what it is. It fluctuates greatly over the years. So Act 511 taxes include real estate transfer tax, earned income tax, business privilege tax, and mercantile tax. Those are your Act 511 taxes. That's the biggest portion of revenue that we use to fund our regular expenditures. Next would be real estate taxes at 32%, and then state shared revenues and a few other items. So those are the two biggies, real estate tax and Act 511 taxes.
So one good, that graph is a pretty good visual of the fact that I know there's a lot of misunderstanding about taxes, and people think that your real estate tax covers all the expenditures that the township
incurs. And that graph right there shows you that that is not the case, development, residential development does not pay all the bills in the township.
Thank you.
Steve.
Next slide shows where our expenditures are. And the second-class township code calls for the township to protect property as one of our primary responsibilities. In fact, if you were to look under the second-class township code, under what the role is of the supervisors, it's to protect the property of the township. That's one of the main items that's listed under your category. And of course, we do that with a police department. And we have a very good one, as was demonstrated earlier today, that we're very, very proud of. It's not surprising that that is the most employees are in the police department of the township. And it's not surprising that that is the biggest part of what our budget is. So, next slide. We sold the stormwater system to the Warminster Municipal Authority, and my objective, because I'm presenting to you what my proposed budget is, you get to say whether or not you like it or not. That's always up to you guys. You get the final say. But I'm proposing that we use the proceeds from the sale of the water authority according to what's on this slide. And this is what I will be putting in your proposed budget for the 18th, November 18th. And we started with this year's budget that was done by Mr. McCauley. And he put in the market value for the MMOs. So we were using a technique called smoothing, where we could lessen our annual expenses for our obligation to the pension plans, and you could smooth out losses that you had incurred earlier in the market or investments over a longer period of time. You had the option of using the smoothing method, which was much less than the market method. Yes?
For Mr. Capozzi, who had asked the question earlier, this is going to be part of the stormwater fee that's going to appear on your water bill.
So, the difference in the market to the smoothing was $678,000. So that's where, part of that money would go into funding. We funded more than we were obligated to do. We paid the market value. Same for the non-uniform pension plan, that's $340,000. And there was a provision in your budget this year for a transfer to debt service of $1.5 million. That was what you approved in your budget when you sat here last year at this time. That transfer's been made. It also called for a carryover and use for operations, but the revenues have come in stronger than expected, so now that money is available. So my recommendation is that you consider a $1.5 million investment and create an OPEB trust to get that started.
Which needs to be done. We've discussed that
we have
in
to do
great
it.
length.
We're talking about that
Yes.
ad nauseum, yes.
Last couple of years.
And we had a meeting with the Pension Advisory Board just last week, and we discussed it at that time as well.
Yes.
It's a complicated process. This is not something you make a motion at and you send $1.5 million over to. You have to create a trust document. You have to have an advisor, a financial advisor, to invest those funds. And it has to be restricted so that you can never take that money back out again. And so that process is very complicated. I've been working on it for a long time. Since I got here, I've been trying to figure out how to do it and to get it done the correct way.
So we should see this probably early in 2022, come before the board for discussion and action.
That's what I'm thinking, Mr. McKee. Yes, thank you. Yep. And I would reserve the money this year. And
Right.
like you just mentioned,
Okay.
we'd look to finalize those documents probably early next year.
Got it.
I'm glad that we're looking ahead in all avenues of
Right.
the township with anything that we have, that we have to take care of. And that's the best way to handle it. And I love that we're doing the market value instead of the smoothing method.
Right.
For the first time. I'm really happy.
Let's be clear, the smoothing method is one of the reasons why we were in financial
And
distress.
Exactly.
We did it for over 10 years,
Right.
and that just kicked the can down the road.
Right,
And now
but-
that bill's due.
But, correct, but the money wasn't available to go
Right.
with the market.
The money wasn't available because of a lot of different reasons for that.
Well-
We won't get into that, but go ahead, Steve.
We're on a positive note here.
That's right.
Exactly.
We're half full
exactly.
tonight.
We're going to have a revenue neutral budget. Well, we will not have deficit spending, and that's what our goal was. So last year, I don't believe we had, or this year, I don't believe we're going to have deficit spending, nor next year. So that was our
Right.
goal, and we've achieved that. That's a positive.
Right.
That's great.
It is a positive, but
Yeah.
let's not, we got to be very cognizant that the revenue sources, the revenue increases we've experienced this year that John had mentioned, these Act 511 taxes that have gone up beyond what we had thought. This is an anomaly that no one had ever anticipated. We thought our earned income tax was going to go down.
That's right.
Right.
But it went up, and one theory is, we have a train station. And one theory is that because we have that train station, we have a lot of people that were working in the city and paying a city wage tax. And whenever someone's paying the city wage tax, they get a credit against everything for the township. So we receive no money
Right.
from those that live in the township but work in Philadelphia.
We've been trying to do something about that for years too, and then.
Good luck.
And it'll
Not.
never happen in
Right.
probably our lifetimes.
Yes.
However, they were working from home over the last 2 years.
Mhm.
And now they're not paying the city wage tax, they have to pay our tax.
Oh, that's very interesting. I like
So,
that.
so we have to, so that is.
So
that is-
use the money wisely.
Right.
use the money wisely because it's likely going to stop.
Right.
That's right.
It's only temporary.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's why it's so important. So, these last 2 years were an anomaly. When we were looking at 2020, we thought 2020 was going to be down.
Right.
And then it was the pandemic was going to be over. And 2021 was going to be great. And then the pandemic kept on. And then it was, oh my gosh, 2021 is going to be down.
Right.
So this township experienced a couple of one-hit wonders that you may not experience in the future. We had two big positives. Number one was that jump in earned income tax that came in. And number two was when everybody's working from home, they have time to golf.
There you go.
They golf while they work, right?
And over the last 2 years were the best 2 years that this
Incredible.
golf course has had.
Yes,
in
I've
the last
heard.
probably 20.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's finally working.
Everybody's raving about this golf course, no matter where they live.
We have a good, we have
It
a good
really is.
operator.
Haven't golfed in a long time, but it looks beautiful.
Right. So, so the message is, the true message is, we've got a couple of things that we need to capitalize on, but we're still climbing a huge hill. We are still climbing a huge hill.
Right.
So, because we've had these anomalies where our revenues have gone up and the golf course revenues have gone up, it makes preparing the budget a little bit easier for me, but it's not something we can project out that that's gonna happen for the next 15 years.
Right.
And we still have huge long-term liabilities, especially that OPEB liability of
Right.
$20 million is huge. So, that's, in essence, is what I hope to communicate to everyone.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
We all recognize the OPEB's been an issue for years.
Yes.
It's another liability that's just been kicked down the road. So I'm happy to see that we're going to actually get that started, because that'll be huge to lower that liability as well.
Steve, can I ask a question? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but we basically paid market value on the pension last year and this year through this stormwater sale. What about when that's done?
Mark, that's a great question. That's a very good question. We, at our
And I know you
pension,
don't have a crystal ball for revenues.
I don't. At our pension advisory board, our MMO went down this year, market to market. We paid market value for 2021, and we have market value in our budget for next year. But the market value this year compared to market value next year's is far less. And the reason it's less, and I think this is part of your question, Mark,
Right.
is, well, why is it so much less next year? I think it's $1.2 million less next year than this year. And the reason it's less is because the performance of the pension funds was so great over the last 2 years that our obligation, our minimum obligation to fund the pension expenses dropped. That will only go, our pension advisor was there at the meeting last week, our actuary was there, and they said, only for the next 2 years can you count on that being down. If the market goes down over the next 2 years, in the third year, that MMO could go way up, back up.
Well, that's what happened after 2009.
Exactly.
That's how we got here.
Exactly. That can't be lost. That is exactly what happened. The assets of the township dropped dramatically after that last recession, and it was so hard then to catch up. So,
And there were opportunities for us to catch up, and we squandered them.
Absolutely.
So there's that too. I mean, we don't plan on squandering our opportunities here as well. So, you know, I mean, that's everyone's pension everywhere. That's everyone's 401K. It's no different. It's pensions and OPEB and 401Ks and everything else are all managed by fund managers, and I think we have a good one.
And I said it many times sitting in your chair, Mr. Chairman, that every resident taxpayer of this township is on the hook for this.
That's right.
We are on the hook for it. We're obligated, that it's guaranteed benefits, and our employees were guaranteed.
Yep,
So us as taxpayers, we're all on the hook for it.
you're right.
yep.
Well, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No, I'm looking forward to going through the budget, because I know it was painstaking for the last couple of years for me.
This will be available after it's adopted as preliminary?
When you, will make it available to the proposed budget, at your next meeting, what I'm hoping to accomplish is that you make a motion to authorize the advertisement of the availability of the proposed budget.
Right, and then it'll
So-
be available, once it's authorized for advertisement, that's when it's available?
20 days, we'll make it available to the public.
Right, okay.
We'll have it out at the front counter. We'll
I
put it
just
on the website.
Want to make sure.
Yep, thank you, Mark.
Everyone
That,
is
Mr.
aware of it.
McKee, thank you. Yes, we'll put it, after you authorize the advertisement of the availability, that's a very good point. Thank you. We'll put it on the website. We'll put a copy at the front desk. And if people have questions, you can come to our meetings that we had on the schedule. So we've got meetings coming up.
We have the
There-
workshops.
The workshops.
We've always
and-
been very transparent
Yep.
with the budgets,
Yep.
yes.
And then you won't adopt it until after that 20-day period is available. I think it'll be a little bit longer than the actual 20 days.
Right.
We are also going to put the budget at the library, because we got a great resource here with the library, and we think that's an ideal place to put it. Their hours are a little different than ours. Somebody wanted to come in and sit at the library, they could go through the budget there as well.
Right.
Excellent.
That is a really good idea, Steve.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Welcome.
All right, let's move on to the professional reports. I've read all of them. I'll go with you first, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The staff has mostly been working on the budget over the
Correct.
last month. And of course, closing out Warminster Community Park, we're in the final stages there. It seemed to have gone very well. So those are the two main things, and John is working on the finances and the budget with me, and we're making some enhancements also to our accounting system to make it more efficient, especially on accounts payable. So we'll be having a staff meeting coming up that John's coordinating with our vendor for our financial software, a little training session for everybody in the township, so.
So you're just adding a few modules, correct? I believe it's,
It's actually just to make it more efficient on the modules we have.
Okay.
So no additional cost.
okay.
I like to
Oh,
say
great.
that.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
John?
Thanks, John.
All right, is that it, Steve?
That's it for me.
Okay, all right, Scott?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have just one thing to report tonight. If you may recall, when we started meeting back in public, we kept bringing up the settlements involving the opioid litigation. Well, it's starting to come to a head, starting to come to an end now that those settlements are being approved and going through. The Attorney General's office is expecting to start receiving the money early next year. They sent out some correspondence last month to all the municipalities stating this. They're still putting together the plan on how they're going to distribute the money, but there was something in there that we will have to act before January to notify them that we would be opting into the settlement. That's pretty simple. They said more official forms would be coming. I don't know if the township received anything else recently, but Have we received anything other than that initial letter?
Not that I can think of, other than that letter.
Yeah, so they'll be sending us the forms and explanations of what the township needs to do, but they are seeing that money is gonna start coming in, and there's a plan to have it ready and start distributing it maybe, I think, third quarter next year.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Craig?
That's it.
That's it, yeah, I know.
I'll keep it short then. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wiesner updated you on the paving program and the curb ramp program already. I won't bore you with that. Two highlights on land development. The Planning Commission next week will be reviewing industrial building, 16,000 square foot industrial building on Nina Way. It's almost identical to about 3 other buildings that have been out there by Mr. Costa. It was a very easy review. Same engineer, same developer, same layout. So I don't expect any issues there, and most likely you will see them at your December meeting for approval for preliminary final. Another large, or a large project that's coming up, some people may remember, it's the Studley property. It's 1250 West Bristol Road, called Hart School Court. This was actually a stipulated settlement agreement by the Board of Supervisors and the applicant as a litigation matter back in December of 2010.
It's just been
Wow.
going on
Okay.
forever.
So I actually was involved in that a little bit, so I don't know if anybody else was sitting up here, but we have done numerous sketch plan reviews. They can't build what the settlement plan that was attached. So this is something residents don't hear a lot of, but I've been pretty much the roadblock for the last 10 years on, you need to come in with something that meets the ordinances and still, meets the concept of what you got approved. But they couldn't do it. There was houses in wetlands, there was proposed townhouses in the riparian buffer.
Correct.
They showed proposed townhouses much closer to Log College Drive. It's the corner of West Bristol Road, West Bristol Road and Log College Drive, the Studley property. So after, I think I have a stack this high of plans that staff looked at, I've reviewed, and they finally got the message that, all right, we're going to have to lose lots, and I think they're down to 20 proposed townhomes. They're allowed townhomes per the court approval. So this is court approved. I think it's a much better plan. I'm sure the residents aren't going to like it, and there's going to be a lot of dialogue. So I anticipate December just be more being the residents coming out, understanding the plan. We'll hear from the developer, the attorneys, and we'll go through stuff.
So we're going to see the developer in December?
If they got through planning commission.
Okay.
I'm going to guess it's going to be a couple meetings before you see them, and maybe another plan
Yeah,
revision.
this has been going on forever.
I want to tell you, it was so bad, they got rid of the
There's a
original.
court order, so.
We're on the third engineer, the second land use attorney at least. I am familiar with this engineer. He's done a lot of work, homes in Cunningham. You've seen them a lot. And they're using, I forget the attorney, but you're familiar with them as well.
The attorney's Mike Malloy from Overmeyer.
Overmeyer and Kelly McGowan as well as behind the scenes, so you're more familiar, they're more familiar with the township in Warminster and how we do things, so I think it finally took a step forward. I know it's long-winded, but I know the residents came out, I think there was something like 75 people at the
I
hearings.
think 14 declared party status.
What, how many?
I think 14 declared
Yes,
party status.
so unfortunately, it's court approved now, so that's done. They still have to meet the land development ordinances, and that's what they're trying to do. So, and maybe, a back and forth for a couple of meetings till we get a plan that everybody's happy with. But I've worked very hard behind the scenes on trying to force them to scale down the project, and I think it's a much better layout, so. And one other thing real quick, and I don't want to get into another stormwater discussion, but while Steve was going through the budget, food for thought, and we could talk more in another meeting, but the water has to go somewhere out of all these new developments, and eventually they hit Mearns Road, Street Road, all PennDOT roads. I don't think you've seen too many projects come through here where PennDOT's increasing the pipe sizes. Because all their design, I pulled up their design criteria, and it's still the same when I designed 20 years ago.
Right.
Every local street is 10 years. Now just think about that. We were talking about a 150-year storm. All your new developments are 100-year. And unfortunately, I did sit in litigation as an expert witness between two townships with a state road between them. And the pipe actually was the capacity of a 7-year storm, And they want to know why all the water was coming from one township across the state road, overflowing and into the next township. And I was an expert witness, and turns out no one realized that PennDOT designs local roads for the storm for 10 years. If it's a major highway, it's 25, and it's a limited access highway, it's 50. They don't even have a 100-year design storm for any PennDOT roads. Just think about that. So that's part of the issue in Warminster, where you have all these developments that are all drained to County Line Road, and they're going to Mearns Road, and they're going to Street Road. And I don't recall, other than York Road project, any type of big storm sewer PennDOT project since I've been here in 14 years. And that's also the bottleneck. So just
Right.
think about that. Everybody focuses on new development. I'm getting these in every meeting I'm in. It's tough. It's tough. The basins will fail. The basins will
That's
back
right.
up. But think about all that water we're holding back, and then it goes to a state highway, and it's designed for 10, 25, and there's no 50-year storms, or you don't have limited access here. So
Right.
it's really 10 and 25-year.
Right.
Just think about that. That's
Wow.
food for thought.
That- yeah.
And I'll leave it at that.
And that's a
Thank you,
good,
Craig.
that's a good point, Craig, because I'm not sure what we can do to have.
It happens in every township, I hear, it's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but unless you get it to the creeks and it bypasses the state highway, you know, it's very limited, the capacity. So actually, that's why I always stand here very confident, saying the new development will hold back more water. Part of the reason I'm always confident is because they have to reduce that flow the whole way down to whatever pipe they're connecting to, and if it's along a state highway, they have to really reduce it down.
Right.
Below our requirements.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
You're welcome.
All right. So, Township Manager announcement of upcoming agenda items. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, Scott already went.
That took, he yielded his time.
He did under 3 minutes, Steve.
You're right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my apologies. The two big meetings that I wanted to mention that I did talk about already was November 18th is a budget, meeting. We're gonna try to limit the other things that are on that agenda so we can concentrate on the budget. And I'm hopeful, another upcoming agenda item, I'm hopeful and optimistic that we'll have an agreement with the fire companies. I'm gonna work hard towards that.
Thanks, Steve.
You always do, Steve. Thank you.
Do my best.
All right, second round, public comment. Sure. I'm gonna hold you to 3 minutes this time, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's getting late, John.
I just wanted to ask Mr. Kennard about Lytle. If there's an update on Lytle, are they still going through? Is it on hold?
I'm hearing that it's not gonna go through anymore.
No,
I
I've
don't
heard
have
they-
the reasons
they have the
why.
property up for sale.
Yeah, that's
That's
what
what I
I
heard
Yes,
just
I
today
heard that.
again. So they were trying to redevelop it with something else, and it makes sense. I don't know the reasons why. I heard there was a lot of stores that they got approved, and they were gonna move forward with certain ones, and that was the delay originally, and then they started asking for different uses in addition to that, and I don't know the reason why they're pulling out, but
Okay, well, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay.
There's no shortage of them around here, John. True. Some of the things I hear in the supermarket, I'm
Boy,
like,
you're not
what?
kidding.
Oh, yeah. All the gossip goes on there, right, Mark?
I think they develop here, and then they get spread out through the rest of the
Right.
state.
Someone told me I'm invested in Big Pharma. I said, I wish.
Oh, my gosh. Big pharma?
All right, so, well, thanks everyone for coming out. Good meeting. I look forward to getting this budget cleaned up and adopted. And that's about all the comments I have. And Kathy, I'll turn it over to you.
I just have just a couple comments too, Mr. Chair. I like a lot of the proposed budget. Of course, we're going to be doing a lot of reading and the workshops and all. I like the fact that we're going to be tackling infrastructure, the stormwater work that the municipal authority is going to be doing, that we have a plan for OPEB, that we're still curtailing our spending and staying within our means. So I feel very positive about that. That's it from me,
Good,
Mr. Chair.
Good. Mr. McKee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to tell you, last Sunday was really nice to see a lot of trick-or-treaters out in the neighborhood.
Yes,
You know,
there
after all the
was.
kids have been through the last 2 years, it was really terrific, so.
Was.
Yeah.
Had quite a few people stop by my house, and neighbors popped in and all. It was really, really terrific. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Okay?
Mary?
I have one question first. The Economic Development Committee, I think there's an error in that date. I believe it's Monday, November 15th, not the 13th.
Monday is the 15th.
Monday's the, yeah, if it is on Monday.
Thank you. We'll make
It is
that
correct.
Notation. Also, don't forget this weekend, we changed our clocks back 1 hour. Make sure that if you have a smoke detector that requires batteries, to please change the batteries in the smoke detector and your carbon monoxide detector. And I would like to thank all of our veterans. Next Thursday is Veterans Day. And also a reminder about the Hometown Hero banners that are displayed along Veterans Way and that you can pick up an application at Parks and Rec. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Judy?
Oh, I'd just like to, want to thank Steve for this very helpful explanation of the budget, and I'm really happy. After the last 2 years, we have said we were going to not keep spending more than we receive and try and work with not in a deficit budget, and we're working towards that. We're getting things paid for. It's very rewarding to see a budget like this for a change. A hopeful budget.
Yes.
So, thank you, Steve. And I'd just like to remind people that we still have a pandemic of opioid problems, and we need to, if you see something, say something, make sure you report it, help whoever's out there, because you don't know how much depression is going through because of this pandemic and how lonely people have been felt and how they've turned to opioids because of that. So please keep that in mind. And thank you very much for participating tonight.
Thanks, Judy. All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Okay.